Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Lords of All People. Start with a Lord Simulator. Chapter 61, 67th Day. You lead the broken army to the depths of the Forest of Elves. Sarah and Denise are setting up defensive traps with the other elves. You ask Denise if there is magic similar to Flame Rift. She shakes her head and says she hasn't heard of it. Day 68. You find the place where the Ruhr Empire once camped. The trees are dense here, and red flame flowers grow on the ground. The Breaking Legion dug into the ground with shovels in hand, leaving many deep pits. 69th Day. The Formation Breaking Legion reported finding a strange ore. You and Angelina stand by the pit, looking down. The blood-red fluorescence is reflected on the bottom of the deep pit, and irregular red veins can be seen. You scan with your eyes. The remains of red dragons, the bones of high-ranking dragons contain extremely high energy, and gradually form unstable red crystal mines over time. You see Denise frowning tightly. The red crystal mine is almost impossible to mine, so you can only be forced to stay away. No wonder they didn't launch the Flame Rift on the first day. It must have been through some method. Later, they found out that there was a red dragon remains here, so they detonated it. It has to be said that this trick is indeed vicious. The elves can hide their bodies in the woods to attack, but they have no power to fight back under the soaring flames. Aggression is far easier than protection. Day 72. Denise tried to use the broken staff, but turned all the surrounding trees into dead wood. According to her memory, the Staff of Annihilation has the power to expel everything, and can remove the destructive power of the red dragon's remains. You chose to take the battlefield to a more peripheral area to prevent the people of the Ruhr Empire from discovering the red crystal ore. 79th Day. The Ruhr Empire advanced steadily. After the fifth battle, the elves finally retreated to the vicinity of the red crystal mine. A huge chasm of flames consumed everything. You are dead. The simulation is over. Your survival time is 79 days, and the cooldown time is 158 minutes. The host simulation Lord level this time is the 4th tier lower level, and the next simulation will receive an increase in experience points. There are red crystal mines in the depths of the elf forest. Yi Chun recorded the results of this simulation on his mobile phone. Believer of Benzabub, Witch Constitution, Elven Clan. The next destination is Jingyi Island. I hope to get the second half of the Broken Staff, and then resolve the attack of the Ruhr Empire after having the Staff of Annihilation. Before evening comes, Yi Chun tried to simulate twice, mainly to try to see if he could be randomized to other A-level units. It turned out to be an E-rank Jackal once, an AC-rank Troll the other time. They did not have the powerful attack power of the Breaking Legion, and they were even more unable to fight against the army of the Ruhr Empire. Early the next morning, Yi Chun got up early and packed up her belongings. Angelina yawned. Honey, am I going to enter the Sea of Consciousness? No need this time. I booked a bus, first passed through the undersea tunnel, and then took a boat to Jingyi Island. Angelina became excited. If Yi Chun chose to fly, she could only enter the Sea of Consciousness and wait for the journey to end. And this time, I can always be by his side. Awesome, honey. In the off-season of tourism, there are few passengers on the bus. The two chose to sit in the last row by the window, and there were no other tourists around. After confirming that all the passengers are present, the driver skillfully turned the car around and drove towards the subsea tunnel. After some travel, the bus officially passed the entrance of the tunnel. The windows dimmed, the light tubes on the tunnel walls flickered alternately, and the warm and humid air rushed towards us. Angelina looked back and forth curiously to confirm whether she had really reached below sea level. The simulator has cooled down. In the dimly lit compartment, Yi Chun said silently, "Start the simulation." Angelina disappeared in the dark without anyone noticing. Start random selection of 10 talents. Grace of Chris Gold. The goddess sheds dew from her hands, and even the barren land is covered with wheat ears of gold. All resources gained around your territory are doubled. Fearless Blue. Your unit's mental resistance is enhanced. Resource Gold talent, and the scope of action is wider than the double food talent, and the ore, wood and energy points obtained are all doubled. Yi Chun opened the talent bar and chose to add. Chris's favor automatically covered the double food talent. It seems that these two talents can't be superimposed, otherwise I still want to remove the talent of Biscuit Master. The simulation starts. Initial talent. Grace of Chris Gold. Charisma Gold. Judgment Gold. Random Territory. Area 6 of the Underground World. Random Arms. B-level Boulder Soldiers. The Underground World and the B-level Armies, the Boulder Soldiers. Yi Chun sat up straight. I originally thought that the Random Territory would be near the Forest of Elves, but I didn't expect there to be a Lord Underground. Probably as strange as the Sky Continent, it's worth exploring. Day 1. You and Angelina walk out of the cabin. You look up and see the starry sky, the dazzling Milky Way illuminates the whole territory, and you doubt whether you are really in the underground world. Back at the hut, the Boulder Soldier is a non-biological type of soldier, and cannot use bloodlines to increase his level. You summon 3 B-rank boulders. They are about 2 meters high, and their bodies are made of gray stone, with 2 rubies embedded in their heads as eyes, which flicker every time they are commanded. You saw a lot of giant rats wandering around outside the territory, making chirping noises, and the giant stone soldiers started hunting with heavy steps. There is a sky full of stars in the underground world. If I didn't go to Jingyi Island, I really didn't know there would be such a strange place. Yi Chun saw the following simulation results. In addition to giant rats, there are also monsters on the ground like goblins in the underground world, but they are very adaptable to the dark environment under the starry sky and can always launch attacks from unexpected places. Fortunately, although the Boulder Soldiers move slowly, they have strong defensive power. The body composed of stones can resist most injuries, and they don't need to eat or drink. As long as they provide energy points, they can recover from injuries and mobility. Day 15. The beast tide is coming. The Boulder Soldiers flattened the vicinity of the territory, and you harvested a lot of stone. Due to their slow movement, you have planted a mass of deadly vines outside the city walls to collect the carcasses of your prey. The walls of Sighing City are full of charged ballistas. With the blessing of the gold talent Chris, you no longer care about the consumption of energy points. Day 16. The galaxy is brighter than ever, and you can even feel a little warmth when you stretch out your hand. The tide of beasts is coming. All the monsters became extremely ferocious under the starry sky. The Boulder Soldiers stood outside the city wall of Sighing. Every time they bent down and swung their arms, they crushed most of the rats in front of them. You control a powered ballista and quickly wipe out all incoming monsters. You pass the first wave of beasts with ease. Fortunately, the underground world is a bit strange, and the difficulty of the beast tide is not high. It seems that the only difficulty lies in the berserk beast herd, but as long as you have a slightly stronger unit, you can pass through the fortifications smoothly. I don't know what the reward for this beast tide is. Day 17. Beast tide rewards have been distributed, and all lords have received a large amount of materials and a treasure chest. You open the treasure chest and get the epic level defense blueprint, Prism Beam. You built the first prismatic pillar on the wall of size. Its bottom is made of criss-crossing prisms, and a slowly rotating triangular prism is placed on top. From the appearance point of view, it looks very much like a miniature version of the energy tower of the Land of Chaos. Prism beams can emit rays with a burning effect, and the more the number of prism beams, the stronger the power of the rays. You built 3 prism beams of light, and they converged the rays on the first one at the same time, and the dazzling light instantly turned a Tier 2 terror into charcoal. Finally, there is a second type of defensive building that can be used. The first defensive building Yi Chun acquired was the Ice Spear Spire, which is powerful, but it can only be used in severe cold areas, and it is considered a limited building in the North Continent. Later, I obtained a rechargeable ballista in the Sky Continent, which helped me to withstand the waves of beasts. It is a very universal city defense device. But the shortcomings are also obvious. When encountering Hugh Lee and the Baron, they can be demonized by the opponent to dissolve all the giant arrows, so it has limited effect on enemies above the 4th level. And now the Prism Beam of Light fills this vacancy, and will become a powerful weapon to kill enemies above the 4th rank. Yi Chun was overwhelmed with emotion. As the level of the territory increases, the more the number, the stronger the power. Can even a dragon be killed in seconds? Day 19. You find that the Boulder Soldiers also have their own little thoughts. Sometimes they gather together and squat down to observe the ground. You see a crawling black beetle among them, the hard-shelled creature that the boulders seem to be interested in. Day 22. You summoned a special type of Boulder Soldier. Its name is Yushibing. It is about 1 meter high, and its entire body is made of transparent emerald green stones. When participating in the battle, a special ripple will be sent around, and all boulder soldiers will be affected by the ripple to optimize the attack mode. You see that after the Jade soldiers join the battle, the giant stone soldiers will automatically attack the most threatening enemy, help teammates to break out, and greatly reduce the loss of battle. Day 37. You sit on the shoulders of the boulder soldiers and let them lead you to patrol outside the territory. Because the number of giant rats has suddenly increased recently, you suspect that there are giant rat nests around the territory. The boulder soldiers stop and go, and you finally find a dark hole in a place where the starlight cannot reach. God Eye tells you that this is a nest of giant rats. Day 38. Angelina used the giant scorpion venom tail in the underground world as a raw material to make the scorpion poison potion in the alchemy workshop. When ignited, it can release black-brown thick smoke, causing confusion and poisoning to the enemies it touches. Boulders are immune to all poison states, so you just crafted 2 detoxification collars to protect yourself and Angelina from exposure to poisons. Day 39. You didn't attack rashly, but searched around the giant rat's lair with your eyes. This investigation really found the openings of the other 2 giant rats' nests, which are the backup attack and escape channels of the giant rats. You have boulders seal off every exit, then drop crates of scorpion poison potion and deflagration potion into the giant rat lair. Thick black-brown smoke jetted out from the 3 openings. The giant rats fled frantically in a mess, and the boulder soldiers squatted quietly at the entrance of the cave, throwing the giant rats back to their nests. You and Angelina are standing in the lee of the antidote collar, and the boulder soldiers stand beside you, silently guarding their lord. When the smoke dissipates, you and Angelina use the arrow of truth to quickly enter the lair. The durability of the antidote collar is slowly decreasing, and you see a demon statue sitting on a stone chair in the giant rat's lair. It has a treacherous expression, resting its chin in one hand while clutching the Lord's essence in the other. The core of the giant rat lair, the statue of Balfinger, original sin and greed. You raise the sword of the holy light to destroy the statue, and get the essence of the Lord and an epic-level architectural blueprint, Pool of Stars. Back in the territory, you see the gathering pool is the only building, and only one building can be built in the territory. It is similar to a well, and the inner wall is composed of white transparent bricks. You can see that with the flickering of the galaxy in the sky, the silver spring water gradually gathers in the Pool of Stars. Using spring water can not only heal injuries, but also get experience points boost. Balfinger, original sin greed, another original sin demon. As a man who killed Beelzebub's clone, Yi Chun is no stranger to it, but the reward for conquering the lair this time surprised him. Through the effect of the gold talent mirror world and judgment, Yi Chun realized that the Lord level is very important. And the gathering pool is undoubtedly a shortcut to quickly upgrade the level. The underground world is full of stars all day long, and the star pool must be very efficient, but it can only play half of its effect on the ground. But that's enough. Day 43. The beast tide is coming. You increase the number of prism beams to 8, and they are placed in groups of 2 around the territory, with charging ballistas next to them as supplementary firepower. You saw on the World Channel, a lord said that he had found a way to get out of the underground world, which attracted the attention of many people, but the lord did not make any further remarks, and was considered a sensational clown by others. Day 44. The second wave of beasts arrives. You can see that it is quiet under the starlight outside the territory, and there is not a single monster. Suddenly, in the darkness, a long-tailed demon appeared. It was slender, with a treacherous smile on its face, and held an ancient scroll in its hand. You observe it with the eyes of God. Balfinger's clone, original sin greed, is a 3rd-tier lower class. Greed is not its nature, because it is the incarnation of greed. You see it holding up the scroll in its hand and smiling at you. The 8 prism light beams light up instantly, and the rays that converge together illuminate the entire territory. It burnt into black dust by the light with a treacherous smile. The quaint scroll was not destroyed because of this, but fell into the dust pile and remained motionless. You command the stonemen to retrieve the scroll, which is called Balfinger's trading scroll. You can see that the Lord is constantly speaking on the World Channel, and everyone has encountered the demon named Balfinger, who wants to make a deal with the Lord. Although you didn't give it a chance to speak, the scroll is very clear. The second wave of beasts will not break out. As a deal, it wants the Lord to provide 100 units of food. The other lords have said that the contents of the scroll are true, and you and Angelina want to satisfy your curiosity. According to the requirements of the scroll, you put 100 units of food outside the territory, and after a while a black hole will appear and swallow all the food. The scroll slowly dissipated into dots of light. The beast tide is over. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yi Chun looked shocked. And this way of passing. Can you, a demon, be kind enough to help the Lord pass the beast tide? What's even more outrageous is that the second wave of beasts really passed. What's wrong? Balfinger is a bit different from the other two original sin demons. Does it just want the 100 units of food? Day 45. This time, the World Channel did not give out animal tide rewards. For other lords, they would rather not have rewards, and they don't want to face the attack of beast hordes. You saw on the World Channel that the lords were very happy because they were not attacked by the beast horde and had time to continue developing their territories. 51st day. The megalithic fortress is brightly lit. You find that unlike before, the World Channel has not announced the opening of the curtain. Since there was no second wave of beast hordes, many lords on the World Channel successfully rose to the third-level territory, and they were all asking about the location of the monster's lair, hoping to get the Lord's essence. You throw the Lord essence in your hand on the table, and prepare to walk out of the territory with the Boulder soldiers and inspect the surrounding situation. 52nd day. You found soldiers coming to investigate near the territory. Unfortunately, the Boulder soldiers moved slowly and did not catch up with them. The majestic city wall of Sighing cut off many people's desire to attack. The prism beam of light shone slightly in the dark, emitting a ray from time to time, destroying the approaching monsters and making the lords around the area stay away. It seems that without the screening of the beast horde, the survival rate of the lords has skyrocketed. Some lords dare to attack me. I'm afraid they are tired of life. Yi Chun thinks it's a little funny. Although his troops move slowly, the defense in the territory is invincible. If I know the opponent's position, the Boulder soldiers will flatten his territory. 57th day. A lord took the initiative to contact you, and he asked the arms to send you a letter. You saw the rhino warrior put down the letter and landed on all fours, and ran away without looking back. His name is Lu Tu, and he owns the B-level rhinoceros warrior. He didn't tell you about his talent. In the letter, he was having friction with a lord of a third-level territory, and both sides were looking for an opportunity to start a war. Lu Tu admires your great power very much and hopes to get your help, and said that he only wants to get the essence of the Lord, and all other resources belong to you. There is a coordinate in the letter that marks the location of the other party's territory. Very far from your territory, almost reaching the edge of the area. This guy named Lu Tu is a bit interesting, and he still wants to ask me for help. Aren't you afraid that he will get rid of you by the way after I clean up? Yi Chun smiled. He definitely wouldn't believe a single word of such a mindless letter. Regardless of whether it is true or not, I will not go to investigate anyway. 58th day. You see the Lord's complaint on the World Channel. They agreed to form a team to attack the monster's lair together, but they were ambushed by the opponent and almost died there. For a while, the lords were suspicious of each other, for fear that they would be plotted against and become a source of material in the eyes of others. Day 62. World Channel announced that the third wave of beasts will arrive in 3 days. The lords discussed whether Balfinger would come again, and some of them had already prepared enough food to trade with it again in exchange for the end of the beast tide. And you decide that if it dares to show up again, you absolutely must smash it to pieces and refuse the deal. You are not afraid of the beast horde, you are just worried that you will not get the treasure chest rewarded by the beast horde. Day 64. You stand on the top of the castle, and the Boulder soldiers below form a neat formation. The height of 2 meters is extremely oppressive. Whenever they step forward, you can hear the ground roar one after another. You drank the spring water from the star-gathering pond, and the Lord level has reached the 4th level, and it is very hopeful that after this beast tide, it will reach the 5th level. General Angelina's territory was redesigned according to the size of the Boulder soldiers, with criss-crossing roads, which could quickly gather troops to a certain place outside the territory. Day 65. The third wave of beast strikes. You stand on the wall of size, below deadly vines swaying in the wind, covered with spikes. You see the same as last time, Balfinger's clone appears from the darkness again. It held up the scroll in its hand to you. This time it did not enter the emission range of the prism beam. Balfinger's clone gently placed the scroll under his feet, and stepped back with a smile on his face. You couldn't help but shoot at him with a prism beam of light, but lost its original power due to the distance, and just illuminated its treacherous face. When the boulder retrieved the scroll, you see on the World Channel, some lords said that the content of the transaction has not changed, and some lords scolded it as a profiteer, and the demand turned out to be a lord essence. You took the scroll and looked it over. Balfinger is very interested in you, so he will give you special treatment in Area 6 of the underground world. All lords in the area will receive the same scroll, and the only options are to agree and abstain. The content is that the third wave of beasts will not break out in the number 6 area of the underground world, and all the lords can leave the ground and see the sun again. As long as half of the lords agree, the transaction will take effect. You choose to abstain without hesitation. Sudden. The news of the end of the beast tide comes before you. You walk out of the castle, there are no monsters around, and the territory is still in place without moving. You look up at the starry sky. Layers upon layers of star clusters slowly rotate above, the speed is getting slower and slower, and finally the entire starry sky is in a strange stillness. There was a click. You see a gap in the starry sky. The sky collapsed in an instant, and boulders kept falling. Only then did you realize that it was not a starry sky, but a huge dome made of rocks. As the harsh sunlight hits your face through the cracks, everything turns to dust. You are dead. The simulation is over. Your survival time is 65 days, and the cooldown time is 65 minutes. The host's simulated lord level this time is Tier 4 Superior, and the next simulation will receive an increase in experience points. This simulation has obtained the Epic Level Architectural Blueprint, Concentrating Star Pool, the Epic Level Defensive Blueprint, Prism Beam, and the next simulation will automatically join the workshop. A dome made of stars. What the hell is Balfinger coming from? According to the simulation results, I must have attracted its attention in a certain way. That's why Balfinger used this tempting deal to collapse the dome in his area, destroying all traces. After all, with 10 talents and so many blueprints, it's hard not to be noticed. This reminds Yi Chun of that classic movie line. You are such a cool man, no matter where you are like a firefly in the dark, so bright, so outstanding. But this time I got 2 epic level blueprints from the underground world, which is not a loss. The gathering star pool is used to quickly upgrade the level, and the prism light beam is used as a big killer in the later stage, which is enough to deal with those monsters above the 3rd level. The undersea tunnel is dark all the way. Angelina leaned her head lightly on Yi Chun's shoulder, making a small sound of sound sleep. Most of the tourists on the bus shrank their necks to catch up on sleep. When the car exits the tunnel, Yi Chun lifted the curtain up to open an opening, and the sea was shining brightly under the sunlight. After a while, all the tourists woke up and opened the windows one after another. The slightly cold and slightly salty air entered the car, which refreshed people. Wow, the sea. Angelina opened her eyes and lay on Yi Chun's shoulder to feel the sea breeze. Yeah, we're going to board the boat later. Yi Chun booked 2 first-class tickets this time, and the cruise ship crossed the strait from the port here to Jingyi Island. After getting off, Yi Chun saw that the passengers at the port were basically carrying large and small bags of luggage. He and Angelina were dressed lightly, revealing an indescribable leisure. The rooms on cruise ships are generally narrow, and the first-class rooms are relatively spacious. Yi Chun and Angelina sat on the head of the bed, watching the bustling crowd at the port through the round window. The whistle of the cruise ship blares. White's hull sailed out of the port towards the endless sea. Honey, so much fun. Angelina walked out of the room, leaning on the railing and looking into the distance. There are many tourists standing on the deck, all taking pictures of each other as souvenirs. The adults hold the children and look at the sea, and the young lady taking the picture takes out bread and feeds the seagulls on the deck. Yi Chun had nothing to do, so he scanned them with his eyes and found a strange thing. Hey, why aren't these people preliminaries for lords? Yi Chun felt his scalp tingling. He couldn't be so unlucky, could he? The movies and TV shows he had watched before appeared in his mind. The protagonist has the special ability to see the lifespan of other people. As a result, the lifespan of all passengers on the train is fixed at 5 minutes later. Because 5 minutes later, the train collided and no one survived. Could it be that this cruise ship, the simulator, has cooled down? Yi Chun took Angelina's hand and led her back to the room. Start the simulation. Start random selection of 10 talents. Yi Chun directly skipped the step of selecting talents. The simulation starts. Initial talent. Grace of Chris Gold, Charisma Gold. Judgment Gold. When going to the step of random territory, a string of ellipses will appear on the simulator interface, and then a message will pop up. The location where the host is located cannot be a random territory. Continuing the simulation will automatically select the initial territory in the pre-selected area. Confirm close. Turn off the emulator interface. Yi Chun picked up a towel and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. It's okay, I thought I'd bid farewell to this world before I entered the Supreme Continent. I didn't expect that you can't randomize the territory in the sea. There is no way, so let's concentrate on randomizing the arms. It takes a day for the cruise ship to reach Jingyi Island. Yi Chun conducted several simulations, and the randomness of the arms is relatively strong. Most of them are E-level and D-level units. Even the C-level units only appeared once. They are still undead units, and there is no way to use bloodlines to improve talents. Night. Yi Chun and Angelina received warm lunch boxes from the staff. Most of the dishes are purchased seasonal vegetables, and the taste is common, but eating on the cruise ship also has a special flavor. The waves crashed against the hull, and the whole cruise ship shook slightly. After Yi Chun acquired the Weapon Master talent, he took his self-control to a higher level, and walked steadily like an old sailor when encountering wind and waves, and he would not feel seasick. On the second day, we will arrive at the last stop of the journey, Jingyi Island. After entering the Supreme Continent, the construction of the territory officially started, and the simulator seems to be useless. At this time, a prompt pops up on the simulator interface. After the host officially enters the Supreme Continent, the simulator will be upgraded to a new version. Please continue to work hard to overcome every difficulty. Yi Chun was ecstatic. There was a new version. Great. Waiting to arrive at Jingyi Island and start a new simulation. The first goal is to find the lower part of the broken staff. Jingyi Island is a tropical island with beautiful scenery. The cruise ship docked slowly at the port. Yi Chun and Angelina walked down the steps, and immediately a person wearing a sun hat came up. Come and see the handsome and beauties. The bus around the island is only a short time away from the two of you. Great rewards at the water park, and free swimming lessons. Yi Chun ran out of the crowd with Angelina. Tourism is extremely developed in Jingyi Island, and group tour guides can be seen everywhere. And Yi Chun didn't want to be dragged around, so he booked a suite in the hotel here in advance, and booked a table in a famous restaurant on the island, enjoying the food at his own pace. Yi Chun followed the waiter all the way to the third floor of the hotel. After swiping the card to open the door, he turned on the air conditioner immediately. Phew, it's so hot. Angelina fanned the air with her hands, and soon felt less hot and dry under the air conditioning. Air conditioning is definitely one of the greatest inventions ever. Yi Chun and Angelina finished their big chocolate sundaes. The simulation begins. Start random selection of 10 talents. Brave Gold. When your troops enter other territories, all participating troops will gain the effect of high fighting spirit, double the attack power and defense power, and ignore any spiritual attacks. This effect is doubled when you join the battle. Fire Resistance. Blue. Your arms will gain 15% fire resistance. Gold is so talented. Yi Chun became excited. This is more powerful than the siege talent, and participating in the battle can trigger the effect of double fighting spirit. Okay, with this talent, do you still lack the essence of the Lord? Yi Chun immediately replaced the purple talent Siege City with the gold talent Bravery. The simulation starts. Initial talent. Grace of Chris Gold, Charisma Gold. Brave Gold. Random territory. Area 3 of land abandoned by God. Random arms. A-level Temple Warrior. Yi Chun exclaimed that it is really the law of conservation of luck. Before the cruise ship was full of low-level units, now finally A-level units are randomized. By the way, why is this place called the land abandoned by God? Yi Chun looked at the simulation results. Day 1. You and Angelina walk out of the hut. The sky is bright and sunny, the surrounding green grass is overgrown, and a river runs through the vicinity of the territory. A sword hilt protrudes from the ground, and you bend down to pull it out of the soil, only to find it is a rusty broken sword. Only then did you realize that the territory is uneven, and there are discarded arrows and armor fragments everywhere. You go back to the hut and summon the 2 temple warriors. They were dressed in silver armor, tall and burly, with rough faces, and obvious scars on their hands and faces. You can see that they can release holy magic below the 3rd level, and they have extremely high combat skills, and can see through the enemy's weaknesses. They shed tears when they saw you, and they saw you as their faith. Little devil horses galloped around the property, and they immediately decided to go hunting. A-level arms are really outrageously strong. The formation-breaking legion has the size of a centaur and unparalleled speed. After forming a legion and launching a charge, it can cause a great impact. Although the warriors of the temple do not have such exaggerated physical fitness, they can use sacred magic and come up with endless methods. Yi Chun nodded in satisfaction. Not bad, the original Sin Devil, right. If we meet again this time, it will definitely come and go. Day 10. You summoned a special unit of the temple warrior, the temple nun. She is wearing a black robe, with a beautiful face and holy eyes. Not only can she use holy magic below the 4th level, but she can also bestow blessings on others, increasing resilience and combat effectiveness. She closes your palms to signify the removal of evil from around the Lord. Angelina immediately shook your left hand, not to be outdone. After the nun of the temple gave her blessing, she let go of her hand. You felt your body full of strength, and you wished you could go out of the territory and kill the monster immediately. The special unit of the temple warrior is the temple nun. This was beyond Yi Chun's expectations, and Angelina would be jealous because of the temple nuns. I can also see the Shira field in the Supreme Continent. Fortunately, the nuns of the temple just added a blessing to me, otherwise I'm really afraid that the 2 of them will fight. Day 15. The beast tide is coming. The temple warriors cleaned up all the arrows and broken swords on the ground in the territory. When you see the piles of metal utensils, it is hard to imagine what kind of battles have been fought here. Since none of them can be used anymore, you turn all these items into iron or resources in the workshop. The armor on the temple warrior cannot be replaced, but it will increase with the level. You gave them the mirror image of the Sword of Light, and the eyes of every temple warrior were full of excitement. Day 16. The beast tide is coming. A skeleton in tattered armor emerged from the hillside, and it held a banner in tattered strips. Soon, hundreds of skeleton soldiers rushed towards the territory with red eyes shining. They pulled out the scimitars at their waists and made a clicking sound. You can see that outside the territory, the warriors of the temple did not use the mirror image of the Sword of Holy Light, but stretched out their hands at the same time and took a step forward. In an instant, a golden holy chain condensed in their hands. The skeleton soldier was interrupted by the holy chain, and under the purification of the sacred attribute, it was completely turned into dry bones and could not be resurrected. The temple warriors rushed into the skeleton soldiers like mowing grass, cleansing them all. The beast tide is over. Complete attribute suppression. The first wave of beasts in the land abandoned by the gods was skeleton soldiers, and cleaning up the undead happened to be the strong point of the temple warriors. Day 17. Beast tide rewards have been issued. You open the treasure chest and get the epic level weapon blueprint, Stigmata. From the drawings, the Stigmata is a 2-handed épée, but it consumes a lot of resources. You decide to upgrade to the 3rd level territory before considering making it. Yi Chun was so excited that he finally had an epic weapon blueprint. Use the Sword of Holy Light as a transition in the early stage, and you can consider using Stigmata after you reach the 3rd level territory. Judging from the previous simulation results, the effect of the Holy Light Sword against undead and demons is already very good, and this is just a rare level weapon. Yi Chun is looking forward to what strength the epic weapons can achieve. Day 26. You will upgrade the territory to a 3rd level megalithic fortress. The temple warriors have made prayer gestures to you, praying for such a powerful lord. In addition to helping other temple warriors recover from their injuries, the temple nuns often stay by your side, which makes Angelina, who often goes to and from the alchemy workshop, quite nervous. In the evening, you feel that your body is getting more and more overwhelmed. Day 27. You have prepared the materials needed for the Stigmata. The 3rd level workshop needs 24 hours of production time. After the territory expanded, the temple warriors continued to clean up the remnants of the battlefield in the territory. Through the grace of the talent Chris, these remnants were turned into double resources and added to the warehouse. Day 28. The production of stigmata is completed. You see a burst of blinding light erupt from the forge. The silver sword is covered with strange lines, making the whole giant sword look like a special handicraft. You picked up the hilt of the sword with both hands, feeling the lines on the stigmata merge with the strength in your body, as if your arms stretched forward. The stigmata not only have special sacred power, which can purify all demons and undead, but also can generate a holy shield during battle to resist attacks from all directions. Can attack and defend. Yi Chun couldn't help but admire, this is an epic weapon. Compared to the Sword of Holy Light, which only has a purification effect, the passive of the stigmata is equivalent to a continuous body protection skill. Even if it takes a lot of resources to make a stigmata, Yi Chun can use the mirror world to create a weakened version of the stigmata image, ensuring that every temple warrior can have a handy weapon. Day 34. You build the star pool, which is still composed of white transparent bricks. However, the power of starlight cannot be collected during the day, and it can only be used in the dark to produce some silver spring water, which can gain a part of experience points. You've built multiple healing springs to allow your temple warriors and temple nuns to recover from injuries. Day 44. The second wave of beast strikes. You can see that there are still countless skeleton soldiers attacking the territory. Most of their levels are second-level superiors, and some are third-level inferiors. The temple warrior holds the mirror image of the stigmata, and can take away a large number of glowing red skulls with a random swing of the sword. When all the skeleton soldiers turned into dry bones, you saw a transparent and illusory figure standing up from countless dry bones. A transparent giant sword similar to the stigmata appeared in his hand, and then he pointed a finger at you. When you were wondering, the transparent giant sword had been swung forward. An invisible sword energy hit the city wall of Sai, forming a deep ravine. He nodded, and his figure slowly dissipated. The beast tide is over. Who is this, so arrogant? Yi Chun was a little puzzled. According to the movement of the figure, it should mean that he only swung his sword to see if his territory could withstand it. Fortunately, the power of this sword is not great, and it didn't even destroy the city wall of Sighing. Having experienced beast hordes in various areas, Yi Chun has gradually adapted to this sudden situation, classifying this phenomenon as a characteristic of the land abandoned by God, and then recorded it on his mobile phone. 45th day. You observe the world channel and see that other lords have encountered that strange figure. Some lords who didn't build a city wall even had their territory pierced by that sword, destroying many warehouses. Beast Tide rewards released. You open the treasure chest and get the epic level special architectural blueprint, Temple Hall. The construction of the Temple Hall requires a territory of level 3 or above, and the construction site needs to be around the core of the Lord. You built the Temple Hall in front of the castle. The white and majestic stone pillars extend upwards, and the steps go up step by step, forming an elegant throne at the end of the hall. You sit on the throne, and the temple warriors stand in 2 rows in the hall, holding up their stigmata and swearing to you. The special effect of the Temple Hall: all arms get double attack power and defense power in the territory. When you sit on the throne, you will have insight into everything that happens in the territory. The scene of himself sitting on the throne appeared in Yi Chun's mind. Insight into everything in the territory. This ability is of limited use in the initial stage of the territory, but as the territory rises above level 4 and the scope of the territory expands, there are many things that the Lord cannot discover in time. At this time, insight into everything means omniscience and omnipotence. The whole territory is under my control. 51st day. There is no news of the opening of the curtain from the world channel. You send out your temple warriors to search out the location of monster lairs around the territory with all your strength. But you can tell from the Lord's speech on the world channel that no one has found anything like a monster's lair. You can feel that the strength of the monsters here is constantly increasing, and now even second-tier monsters are rare, only monsters above third tier are left wandering around the territory. Is there no monster lair in the land abandoned by God? This is not good news for Yi Chun, because not only do you need the essence of the Lord to upgrade the 4th level territory, but you can also get extra blueprint rewards for attacking the lair. If there is no monster lair, can we only attack other lords? In this way, the land abandoned by God may become a mess. Yi Chun felt that things were not that simple, so he continued to look at the simulation results. Day 62. The World Channel announced that the third wave of beasts will arrive in 3 days. You have set up 8 prismatic beams of light in the domain, and they are distributed on the wall of size, interspersed with the charged ballista. Temple warriors have detoxification magic and can fight in an environment full of poisonous gas. You gave up the idea of making a detoxification collar. But when you made the purification medal, all the temple warriors were full of energy and told you that they would work hard to win the chance to get the medal. In the World Channel, almost all the lords have built city walls to prevent the giant sword from piercing through the territory. Now you often sit on the throne in the hall of the temple and see the warriors of the temple meticulously put the prey into the granary and decompose it. The relationship between Angelina and the other nuns of the temple seems to be getting better, and they often go in and out of the alchemy workshop together. Day 65. The third wave of beasts arrives. You see a red robe floating outside the territory, which is filled with colorful light clusters, making the whole robe swing from side to side. On the cuff of the robe, the light ball wrapped a strong tree root, which was tightly adsorbed around the robe. The moment you took out the broken staff, overwhelming magic hit the territory. The temple warriors stood on the city wall of sighing, holding stigmata and waving them in the air, forming a halo of gold to counteract all kinds of fireballs that came. The 3 nuns of the temple clasped their fingers tightly, and the holy chains formed a large net to decompose the meteorites falling from the sky. You rushed out of the territory under the guidance of the broken staff, and your mental power frantically poured into the broken staff. The head of the staff formed layers of ripples in the air, and finally erupted into a circle of continuously spreading transparent halo. All the magic that touched the halo disappeared instantly, and even the holy chain thrown by the temple warrior disappeared. When the halo touched Red's robe, the colorful light group rushed into the air as if it was unshackled, leaving only the strong tree root. Broken staff, epic level special props, the magic you release through the staff will get unstable boost. When you combine the 2 broken staffs, the sky instantly becomes dark, and there is a faint sound of thunder coming from the sky. The complete staff trembled slightly, and you saw countless light spots converging into the staff. The Staff of Annihilation, a mythical item, was originally a branch of the World Tree, and was eventually found by the great demon mage Whitehead as his staff. The holder will receive Whitehead's inheritance, and his understanding of magic is beyond ordinary people, and he can use most of the magic with ease. The holder can release the 7th level magic cracking aura once a day, eliminating all magic factors around it. The holder will gain the favor of the elves and can freely enter the area where the World Tree takes root. God, mythical item. Yi Chun couldn't believe that he actually got the Staff of Annihilation. Whitehead's heritage. I'm a real mage too. Yi Chun was very excited. No wonder the elf Denise would say that the Annihilation Staff can clear the red crystal ore, and the 7th order magic cracking aura can eliminate the surrounding magic factors. Of course, it can eliminate the magic power contained in the red dragon's remains, so that it can prevent it from exploding. Now Yi Chun can't wait to go back to the Forest of Elves and teach the soldiers of the Ruhr Empire to be human with the Staff of Annihilation. He took a few deep breaths to calm himself down and analyze the existing situation. According to Denise, the Staff of Annihilation disappeared after the Great Battle, and now I got another part of the broken staff in the land abandoned by God, which means that the place of the Great Battle is here. Whitehead is most likely dead, and the staff was broken in half by some kind of attack. Perhaps it was the attraction of the broken staff. I met the light group controlling another part of the staff in the third wave of beasts. I successfully eliminated their magic by cracking the halo, and finally let me get the complete annihilation staff. Land abandoned by God. Yi Chun has a new understanding of this area name. Combined with the countless remnants of the battlefield found in the territory, it can be seen that this battle is unprecedented, and even Mage, a great demon with a mythical staff like Whitehead, fell here. Fortunately, this time the simulation got the annihilation staff. 66th day. You can see on the World Channel that the Lords encountered the third wave of beast attacks in different ways. Some were bombarded by magic, others were slashed by a giant sword like last time, and some Lords passed through the Beast Tide without doing anything. Beast Tide rewards have been released. Each Lord has obtained a Lord Essence and a lot of materials. You put the Lord's Essence on the bookshelf, pick up the Staff of Oblivion and start practicing magic. With the blessing of the Annihilation Staff, although you can successfully release magic, the accuracy and size need to be controlled by yourself. Angelina laughed when she saw that you accidentally scorched your eyebrows with a fireball. So that's how it turned out. The rewards for the third wave of beasts distributed the Lord's essence, so that to a certain extent, the Lords can be prevented from fighting each other. Yi Chun nodded. It seems that this is also a kind of compensation for the lack of monster lairs in the land abandoned by God. However, if you practice magic, your eyebrows will be scorched by the fireball. Too bad. Day 71. Angelina is holding 5 skewers of raw meat in her left hand, and sprinkles spices downwards in her right hand. You use the Staff of Annihilation to control the tiny flames to roast the raw meat until it becomes oily, and a tangy aroma comes out after a while. This is a relatively strange training method in Whitehead's inheritance, and it is mainly used to train the fine manipulation ability of magic. Then Angelina hunked Ono, thumbs up to you. Your Lord level has reached the 4th level upper level, you can feel your spiritual power to a higher level, and you can release multiple large-scale magic. The temple warriors worked hard to collect resources outside the territory, and under the grace increase of the gold talent Chris, you quickly established a 3rd secondary warehouse for storing resources. After the 3rd wave of beasts ended, all the lords in the land abandoned by the gods had obtained the essence of the Lord, so most of them were trying to find ways to accumulate resources to upgrade to the 4th level territory. 76th day. You are sitting on the throne in the hall of the temple, holding the Staff of Annihilation, and Angelina is standing on your right. In the hall, the temple warriors stood on both sides, and the temple nuns stood at the head of the row clasping their fingers together, raising their heads with clear eyes. You tap the ground lightly with the Staff of Annihilation, and the essence of the Lord in the castle is integrated into the core of the Lord. With the temple hall as the center, the entire territory undergoes earth-shaking changes. Countless battlefield remnants outside the territory flew into the air, turned into resources and entered the warehouse. The city wall spans the river next to it and stretches to the opposite bank. When all the rumbling stopped, the territory was successfully upgraded to a 4th level Linshui city. The number of houses increased by 5 times, the size of the castle increased by 3 times, the workshop and all granaries were automatically upgraded by 1 level, and the attack power and defense power of all units in the territory increased by 30%. From the hall of the temple, you can see the endless territory. The warriors of the temple and the nuns of the temple smiled happily at the same time, and made gestures of prayer. The 4th level territory is adjacent to Shuicheng. This is the second time Yi Chun has seen a 4th level territory in the simulation, and this time he did not attack the territory of the local lord. It was entirely thanks to the blessing of Chris that he successfully gathered all the resources. Yi Chun was very excited, because the 4th level territory meant that he could build a magic cannon. This will greatly strengthen the defense of the territory. But it is a pity that there does not seem to be a local empire in the land abandoned by the gods, which means that the only way to upgrade to the 5th level territory is to choose the iron-blooded wrist route. The Song of Peace requires the Lord to accept at least 500 subjects and 2 Lord Essences, and to do iron-blooded wrists requires the Lord to have at least 300 troops and 10 Lord Essences. 10 Lord Essences. Yi Chun didn't worry too much, because the reward for the 3rd wave of beasts was a Lord's Essence, and the subsequent rewards are likely to be Lord's Essence. 82nd day. You built a magic cannon on the city wall of size. You put 3 crystal nuclei of the 2nd order magic wolf into the loading port, and the cyan energy ball explodes into the sky on the river surface, forming rainbows under the sunlight. By comparison, the combination of about 3 prism beams can achieve the same power, but when the level of the crystal nucleus increases, the power of the magic cannon will change qualitatively. 84th day. You summoned the special unit of the temple warrior, the ascetic monk. He was thin and dressed in a gray robe. After saluting silently, he went to practice outside the territory. The temple warriors and temple nuns admired him a lot, because the ascetic monk abandoned other ideas and devoted himself to studying the theory of the sacred department and magic. He can use sacred magic below the 5th level, and has a unique effect of banning magic. It is equivalent to a weakened version of the disintegrating aura of the Staff of Oblivion. It seems that after upgrading to the 4th level territory, the probability of summoning special units also increases accordingly. The ascetic monk's anti-magic effect is good. Although I have the cracking aura of the annihilation staff, I can only release it once a day. Usually, when encountering insignificant situations, I can ask the ascetic monk to go up. Yi Chun saw that the number of simulation days has reached 84 days, which has surpassed his previous record. Very good. Let's see if there is any news about the beast tide. Day 90. 10 days after the announcement on the World Channel, the land abandoned by the gods will usher in the first selection of gods, and the lords who pass will receive special rewards. The lords were very excited. Most of them did not have the materials to upgrade to the 4th level territory, so they were very much looking forward to this special event with rewards. Through the description on the World Channel, you realize that this selection of God only takes place in the land abandoned by God. The warriors of the temple and the nuns of the temple shook their heads when they heard the news. They are only loyal to you now, and they are not interested in God's choice. You choose to continue building the prism beam to supplement the defenses in the territory and prepare for the challenge of God's chosen. Yi Chun asked suspiciously, God's chosen? 91st day. You saw on the World Channel that other lords are preparing to deal with God's choice. Unlike you, they are rearranging their territory and cleaning it up. Because I don't know where the news came from, God will appear in this election to examine, and he will choose the most sincere territory as the Holy Land. You raised your head and silently aimed the magic cannon at the sky. Yi Chun had fun watching it, but he didn't expect the Lord of the Supreme Continent to start such a face-saving project. But from the word chosen by God, maybe there will be things related to gods. But Yi Chun doesn't think that planning the territory beautifully can win the favor of some bullshit god. God, right, how many teachers do you have? 92nd day. Other lords are showing off the planning of their territories, and some lords even build areas similar to worship halls in their territories to please the gods. You sit on a throne in the hall of the temple, and the patrol area of the temple warrior has expanded after the territory has been expanded. Fortunately, you can observe the situation in the territory through the special effect of the temple hall, and the deadly vines lie quietly on the city wall, ready to catch the approaching monsters at any time. 93rd day. You set up a winery, and then make a lot of fruit wine and ale. Angelina produced a lot of glass wine bottles in the alchemy workshop, and you filled them with wines of various colors. You peddle these bottles for a premium on the World Channel, promoting them as wine for the gods. The other lords purchased frantically, and all the alcohol was out of stock for a while. It makes you laugh from ear to ear. It's too bad, but I like it. Yi Chun remembered that in the Forest of Elves, alcohol was considered a luxury item and basically could not be sold. But now for another reason, a large number of buyers can be harvested. The gimmick is easy to use everywhere. 97th day. There are still 3 days left before God's election. You drank the spring water of the star pool, and the Lord level reached the 5th order intermediate. The mirror image of the stigmata created by the world in the mirror has half the effect of the original version, and it can last for 3 days. Now the temple warriors are equipped with a mirror image of the stigmata, and the giant sword looks very mighty on their backs. 98th day. You can successfully use the 5th order strongest single body magic, crushing power, through the perception of Whitehead's inheritance. You hold the staff of annihilation and use the power of crushing, and a group of 3rd order blood bats flying in the air are instantly enveloped by huge palms, and then the palms are clenched into fists, and everything is reduced to debris. The temple warriors look at you adoringly, and they salute you with the mirror image of the stigmata in their hands. 99th day. God's choice is coming. In the World Channel, the other lords are all ready to build gorgeous sculptures and altars in the territory, filled with delicious food and wine, hoping to get the favor of the gods. There are 2 magic cannons, 12 prism beams, 218 temple warriors, 10 temple nuns and 3 ascetics in your territory. Everyone enters the healing hot spring to take a bath and rest, and you distribute the remaining spring water from the star pool to raise their level. You sit on your throne in the hall of the temple, waiting for the chosen to arrive. Day 100. The sky is covered with dark clouds. You sit in the temple hall with the staff of oblivion in your left hand and Angelina's hands in your right. Sudden, the dark cloud tore a crack, and a ray of golden light shone into the territory. The news on the World Channel is crazily updated. You can't see what the lords are talking about at all, but it is very clear that the selection of gods has begun. The golden light gets wider and wider, and you look up to see a blurry face gradually emerge from the air. He raises his eyebrows, seems very angry, and soon you hear him give you a list of 3 major crimes. The number 1 crime, breeding succubi, should be purified. The second greatest crime, building temples, deserves to be destroyed. The third crime, inheriting the staff of annihilation and attempting to challenge the authority of the gods, should be punished. You held up the staff of annihilation, and a giant hand smashed the face in the air to pieces. 12 prism beams of light gathered into array, piercing through the dark clouds and shooting upwards. The 2 magic cannons made a terrifying sound, and the 2 entangled balls of light exploded in the air, completely dispelling the dark clouds. Suddenly, you see a drop of red liquid falling in the air as if absorbing all the light. God, I only gave a comment. Divine blood. The angry roar in the air is deafening, and you can only relieve the surrounding pressure by barely using the 7th order cracking halo. When you are about to launch the second round of attack, a crisp clapping sound echoes all around. The entire territory shivered into pieces. You are dead. The simulation is over, your survival time is 100 days, and the cooling time is 100 minutes. The host's lord level in this simulation is Tier 5 Intermediate, and the next simulation will receive an increase in experience points. This simulation obtained the Epic Level Special Architectural Blueprint, Temple Hall, the Epic Level Weapon Blueprint, Stigmata, and the next simulation will automatically join the workshop. This simulation obtained the mythical prop, Staff of Annihilation, which has solidified into reality. This simulation has reached 100 days, and the Divine Grade Area, Void Land, will be unlocked. Chapter 71. Yi Chun looked at the simulation results and sneered at the 3 major crimes given by the gods. The first 2 crimes are nonsense at first glance, but the last one is the key. The third crime, inheriting the staff of annihilation and attempting to challenge the authority of the gods, should be punished. What exactly did Whitehead do with the staff of annihilation in the land abandoned by God? Yi Chun became more and more curious about the course of the great battle. The staff that was broken in half was now restored as a mythical item, which also led to him being targeted by the gods and forcibly destroying the territory. But what about the gods? It's not like I beat a drop of blood. It seems that in the Supreme Continent, the gods are not perfect, at least their own efforts are enough for him to break through the defense. What Yi Chun is most concerned about now is the last sentence of the simulator. The simulation reached 100 days, unlocking the Divine Grade Area, Void Land. Divine Grade Area. Yi Chun turned on the simulator to check carefully, his expression gradually became stunned. Divine Grade Area, Land of the Void. Everything is nothingness, everything is real, and the kingdom of God I established will surely come to the world. After unlocking the area, the host is allowed to establish the initial territory in the void, with the coordinates being 0. The void land has special rules. It coincides with the Supreme Continent, allowing the host to temporarily drop the territory to the pre-selected territory and the old coordinates. There are no units in the void, allowing the host to summon any pre-selected and random units from the core of the Lord. Yi Chun read it several times, and almost stuck his face in the simulator interface. The void is worthy of being a divine grade zone. This means that as long as Yi Chun establishes the initial territory in the void, he can bring the territory to a place he is familiar with. And you can also choose to call all the troops in the preselected area. Yi Chun saw that there were 3 major arms in his preselection area. A-level Succubus, B-level Centaur, A-level Temple Warrior. The most important thing is that you can continue to summon random arms. Yi Chun closed his eyes, and the icy North Continent appeared in his mind. The yellow pupils of the frost dragon that descended from the sky. The sky continent where monsters rain down. Black Red's wings, a pterosaur with scales covering the whole body like armor. The nightless plain of the southern continent. The Reese Holy Empire, which hates the demon race, represents the Samar clone who was furious with the original sin. A land of chaos and chaos. The poisonous fog that cannot be dissipated, the towering energy tower. A forest of elves with infinite vitality. Benzeb, who represents the gluttony of original sin, the witch constitution Phyllis who is about to be sacrificed, the Ruhr Empire that started the wildfire, the elves Sarah and Denise who are in danger. An underground world full of stars. The underground dome composed of countless star clusters represents the original sin and greedy Balfinger. The confusing land abandoned by the gods. The place where Whitehead fell, the blood dripping from the gods. Yi Chun opened his eyes, with excitement in his eyes. Omniscience does not necessarily require omnipotence. As long as I make the right choice at each stage, everything will be redeemed and retribution. This is the reward for successfully reaching 100 days. Angelina appeared from the sky, and when she heard Yi Chun describe the void, she also showed a surprised expression on her face. Then she hugged Yi Chun in surprise. That's great, honey. This way we can save Phyllis and Sarah. Yi Chun touched her head and said, not only can we save them, but we can also try to take down an energy tower, and even the frost dragon in the northern continent is within our hunting range. In the early stage, there may not be enough resources to build magic cannons and prism beams, but waiting for them to reach a certain number in the later stage, this attack that allows the gods to break the defense will definitely bring unimaginable nightmares to the frost dragon. There is still an hour and a half of cooling time. Yi Chun learned from the simulator. The void can only be officially unlocked after entering the high continent. And after the simulator is upgraded, the interface will comply with the special rules of the void, providing assistance for Yi Chun to bring the territory to the high continent. A complete and strong branch appeared in Yi Chun's hand, with a slightly smooth head and a length of about 1.5 meters. The surface of the Staff of Annihilation presents the texture of bark, and Yi Chun lifts it up effortlessly, feeling the spiritual force slowly interacting with it. Some obscure knowledge came into his mind, which forced Yi Chun to take back the Staff of Annihilation. For a moment just now, I felt that someone was teaching me earnestly, but unfortunately I couldn't understand his language. Yi Chun understood that after entering the Supreme Continent, all the lords will unify the language, and now even if he wants to learn magic, he can't learn it successfully. Angelina snickered and said, of course, not everyone is your sole executive like me, so they have a tacit understanding. The unlocking of the void put Yi Chun in a good mood. The two walked out of the hotel and came to the beach under umbrellas. Under the parasol, Yi Chun sat on the bench, watching Angelina deftly build a decent sandcastle. I will officially enter the Supreme Continent tomorrow. Building a building like this may be in my mind. The weather in Jingyi Island is changeable. After a while, the sea was covered with dark clouds, the waves beat against the rocks, and the strong wind blew everyone's clothes into wrinkles. Lena, let's go back to the hotel, it looks like it's going to rain. Angelina smiled and patted the sand on her hands and said, okay, take a shower when you go back, and then. Yi Chun felt his legs go limp. After the simulation cooldown period ends. Since the void has been unlocked, Yi Chun didn't bother looking for other places. The rest of the simulations are just tentative random units, and then simulated in other areas of the land abandoned by God. The results are all the same. As long as it is AC level or higher unit, it can rely on the increase brought by its talent to pass the first two waves of beasts. In the end, if you stick to God's choice, you will definitely be listed by the gods as 3 major crimes, and then use various methods to destroy the entire territory. Yi Chun saw the last simulation, and he recited the 3 major crimes before the gods spoke. Opening square bracket ... When the giant face in the sky appeared, you began to recite aloud. The number 1 crime, breeding succubi, should be purified. The second greatest crime, building temples, deserves to be destroyed. The third crime, inheriting the Staff of Annihilation and attempting to challenge the authority of the gods, should be punished. It's the first time you've seen that blank expression on that face. Afterwards, you saw a complete figure appearing from the dark clouds, and you used your god eyes to observe with all your strength, only to see several figures standing where he appeared, and some of them seemed to be laughing wildly with their mouths covered. He bristles with anger, calling out, how dare you pry into the will of God. As you laughed out loud, countless lightning bolts tore through the area you were in. You are dead. It's interesting that there are more than one god. Yi Chun smiled and turned off the simulator interface. It seems that the last simulation really broke the god's defenses both physically and psychologically, so that he appeared to attack in person. Now everything is ready, just wait for the call of the Supreme Continent. Jingyi Island Observation Deck. Yi Chun leaned on the railing with one hand and looked into the distance. The giant white cruise ship was slowly docking. Some passengers on the deck picked up their mobile phones to take pictures, and some waved to the people in the port. It was extremely lively. Go out this time. Yi Chun didn't wear sunglasses. He stood quietly by the window, surrounded by many girls wearing sun protection clothing secretly taking pictures, trying to ask the best friend who pushed him for contact information. Finally, a girl with a pretty face came up. Hello. Are you also visiting Jingyi Island? Well, oh, you're in luck. What does it mean when a girl's eyes are shining and she is lucky? Is he just falling out of love now? Yi Chun glanced at the simulator countdown, then patted her on the shoulder lightly. I'm leaving, you have to take care of yourself. The girl looked puzzled. Did she know him? And the girlfriends behind her frantically took pictures, with envious expressions on their faces. The moment the countdown was reset to 0, the entire blue star changed drastically. Everyone's bodies stopped instantly, and the cold mechanical voice echoed in everyone's ears. The Supreme Continent will select billions of healthy blue stars, each of whom will be randomly assigned territories and ruling arms. When the sound ends after 25, Yi Chun saw that starting from the beach, countless people turned into little stars and disappeared, all the way to the viewing platform. Goodbye. The starlight instantly filled Yi Chun's sight. Yi Chun opened his eyes and found himself in the dark space around him. There is a transparent panel floating in front of him, emitting a soft light. The words described by the previous voice are written on it, and there is a 10-minute countdown below. It turns out that everyone else came here first to make mental preparations, and then randomly assign territories and arms to draw initial talents. Yi Chun thought. The emulator interface pops up from the other side. Choose the initial territory, the Land of the Void. Choose the initial unit, A-level Temple Warrior. As the simulator made a choice, Yi Chun's figure disappeared from the panel, and the countdown was still 9 minutes away. Is this the Land of the Void? There is an exquisite wooden house in front, with uneven green grass growing on the ground, surrounded by endless white fog. Yi Chun stepped forward and pushed open the door. This was the first time he saw the core of the Lord with his own eyes. The shuttle-shaped crystal, about 1 meter high, floats up and down in the air, emitting a faint light blue light when Yi Chun approaches. So beautiful. Yi Chun gently pressed the angular crystal surface with his hand, and a cold touch came from the palm of his hand. Do you want to use the gold talent, Soul Executor? Yes. Pure purple light erupted from the Lord's core, and a graceful figure was gradually outlined in the air. When the light disappeared, 2 small magic horns grew on its head, and a succubus with a black tail flicking behind appeared in front of Yi Chun. Angelina pressed her lips with her fingers, and smiled at Yi Chun with a playful face. Should I call you master or, my dear? Yi Chun's heart was beating very fast. He had obviously been with Angelina for so long, why was he still so nervous? Correct. Yi Chun suddenly realized that in the Supreme Continent, Angelina was an A-level succubus, and she belonged to her own soul executive. His own strength is extremely strong, but his ability was weakened when he was in Blue Star, which makes him look like 2 different people. Angelina walked up to him and looked at each other. Honey, don't you build a wooden bed first? This reminds Yi Chun that there is still work to be done. Yes, let's see how to build a territory first. Yi Chun let out a long sigh of relief and opened the Lord interface. The Lord's interface is much simpler than he imagined. Every building that can be built is marked with a green box, and other buildings that lack materials cannot be selected. Yi Chun sees that there are 100 units of wood and 100 units of stone in his territory, and 0 units of other resources. Let me see, it takes 20 units of wood to build a wooden bed. After Yi Chun selected the wooden bed, he spread his hands forward, and the phantom of the wooden bed moved left and right in the air with the movement of his hands. Confirm the location in the cabin. 20 units of wood were deducted from the resources. At the same time, the planks were spliced together quickly in the air, and a sturdy double bed appeared in the corner of the wooden house. It's so convenient. Yi Chun went to sit on it. The height feels very suitable. As long as the mat is laid on it, you can have a good sleep. After building the wooden bed, it is considered to be in the state, so I walked to the core of the Lord and stretched out my right hand. Initial unit. A-level Temple Warrior. Number of summons. 221st. Each call needs to consume 500 energy points. Note: the first call of the Lord is free. Summon 2 Temple Warriors. The core of the Lord rotated and shone with pure white light. 2 Temple Warriors in silver armor stood inside the wooden house. Their faces are rough, and there are scars on their faces, making the whole face look very wild. But when they saw Yi Chun, they knelt down on one knee and put their hands on their knees, with joy and awe in their eyes. Temple Warrior, A-level troop, the upper level of the first level, proficient in holy magic below the third level, skill weakness perception, can see through the enemy's weakness and attack. Yi Chun observed their appearances carefully. The two temple warriors were both unshaven uncles. With this armor, they had a wild temperament. Get up. The two temple warriors hurriedly stood up. They were a little puzzled when they saw Angelina, but they didn't show any disrespectful movements or expressions. Leaving them here to stare blankly is not an option. Yi Chun arranged for them to go out and inspect the territory to see if there were other creatures in the void. It's time to look at the upgraded interface of the simulator. The simulator has been upgraded after entering the void. Yi Chun opened a brand new interface and checked all the new options before fully understanding the upgraded functions. For the first function, the simulation option remains unchanged, but the times and simulation time change. The host can simulate once a day for 10 days. You can refresh the number of times and increase the simulation time through Lord Points. Yi Chun sees that he now has 8,000 Lord Points, which can be refreshed once a day with 500 points, and it takes 100 points to increase the simulation time by 1 day. Well, that means you can't simulate to the end like before, but it's not bad. You can simulate once if you are in doubt, to see where things are going. The second function, the void descends. According to the report of the two temple warriors just now, there are no living things outside the territory except for the grass on the ground. In other words, if Yi Chun stays here, he will not be able to obtain any resources. And it is very simple to go to other places, that is to use the void descent function. Yi Chun opened the void descent option, and a long list of coordinates appeared in it, and the first 3 coordinates that appeared at the beginning were the territory of the preselected area. They are Area 65 of the Forest of Fairies in the Western Continent, Area 71 of the Evernight Plain in the Southern Continent, and Area 7 of the Land Abandoned by God. In the back is the location where Yi Chun has simulated all the territories. The host chooses the location where the territory will descend, and then chooses the number of days to descend. The shortest is 1 day, and the longest is 10 days. Note: territories that land in the pre-selection area do not consume any Lord Points, and territories that are not in the pre-selection area need to consume 100 Lord Points per day. Yi Chun immediately decided that the first time the territory came to the Forest of Elves, there are abundant resources, which is very suitable for the initial development. Choose Area 65 of the Western Continent's Fairy Forest, and the number of days to come is 7 days. Yi Chun saw White's thick fog flooding the entire territory in an instant. The light and shadow in front of his eyes were constantly changing, and the chirping of birds could be heard in his ears. When the fog cleared, a gust of fresh air poured into the wooden house from the window, and Yi Chun and Angelina walked out the door. The entire territory fell into the jungle, with giant trees covering the sky and the sun, and layers of branches covering the wooden house. In front of the territory, a wild boar covered in hard thorns was blocked by the novice protective cover, and it roared at Yi Chun in a low voice. Angelina took a step forward and snorted coldly. The wild boar stopped moving immediately, then turned its head and hit the boulder next to it, killing it on the spot. The phantom of gold's ears of wheat fell from the sky, and the dead bodies of wild boars were condensed next to them. Even the bleeding spots were exactly the same. The two temple warriors nodded, stepped out of the territory and started bloodletting and skinning skillfully. Yi Chun was dumbfounded. Before he could react, Angelina had already completed the first kill. Angelina smiled and said, "Honey, I'm amazing." "Awesome." Hearing Yi Chun's compliment, Angelina hugged his arm happily. Two temple warriors squatted beside the dead boar, their hands covered by light film, easily tore off its hard skin, and cut the boar into strips. Yi Chun checked out the third feature of the emulator, Call of the Void. The interface is roughly the same as that of Descent from the Void. The first 3 are the units in the pre-selection area, and the latter are the units that Yi Chun has simulated. The host can choose the arms that have been simulated to summon. Note: the arms in the pre-selection area do not consume any Lord Points, while other arms need certain Lord Points to select. Yi Chun saw that the C-level wingmen need to consume 300 Lord Points, and the B-level boulder soldiers need to consume 500 points, which is not too high overall. That's right. Tomorrow, I will summon 2 formation-breaking cavalry to participate in the battle. These centaurs are better at moving in the Forest of Elves. In addition to summoning historical units, there is also a daily random option at the bottom. 3 random units are refreshed every day, and hosts can exchange them with Lord points. Yi Chun took a look and couldn't help but be speechless. The Nulls, AC level unit, actually need 50,000 Lord points, while the other 2D level units also need 20,000 points to redeem. The cost is too high. Fortunately, I have 3 A-level units and other B-level units available. Yi Chun saw his talent bar. Now there are 7 gold talents and 3 purple talents. After the emulator is upgraded, there is an extra talent store in the options, but the price of the gold talent inside is also hundreds of thousands of Lord points. So before I knew it, I was also a man worth millions. After browsing the functions of the simulator, Yi Chun is satisfied. Lord points can be obtained by killing monsters and building territories. Basically, any behavior that is conducive to the development of the territory will be rewarded with Lord points. On the far left of the Lord interface is the World channel. Yi Chun saw the speeches of the Lords sliding across the interface quickly. Even if each Lord can only send 3 messages a day, this is an unimaginable message king. Can someone tell me where this is? There are monsters all around. It's over. My unit is E-level skeleton soldiers. Can anyone support me? Ha 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 ha, I finally turned salty fish over. The A-level unit's sole leader. Everyone else tremble backquote open corner bracket. What talents are you all? I feel that my purple talent is so weak. Yi Chun turned off the World channel interface, and now everyone is in a confused stage. Basically there is no noteworthy information. After the 2 temple warriors dealt with the wild boar, they walked out of the territory to collect resources while hunting monsters. Yi Chun saw that his energy points continued to increase, and now he has 212 points. And the Lord points increased from 8,000 points to 8,532 points. Not bad. The A-level units are so self-disciplined, no additional orders are needed at all. Now just wait for them to bring the resources back to the territory. Yi Chun took out the Staff of Annihilation. In the highest continent, the staff is surrounded by countless light spots, making this powerful branch full of mystery. The obscure words in his ears gradually became clear, and Yi Chun's mind suddenly became clear. First order magic is the simplest. The moment you realize the basic elements, you have mastered first order magic. Yi Chun looked around, and then raised the wine to kill the law. Red streamlines gradually converge at the top, and they huddle together and ignite instantly, forming a fist-sized fireball. So amazing. Just as Yi Chun was distracted, the fireball dissipated into a plume of smoke. Angelina cheered in surprise. My dear, you can cast magic too. Yi Chun said with a smile on his face. This is just the most basic magic. Although it is not as useful as your mind control now, it can cause a lot of destructive power if the Lord level is increased. Now Yi Chun's Lord level has not reached the first level, but as long as the temple warriors keep hunting, the rewarded experience points are enough to make his level rise quickly. Not long after, 2 temple warriors dragged several monster corpses and other resources back to the territory, and 3 giant trees around the territory collapsed under felling. Yi Chun saw that the various resources of the Lord's interface are increasing crazily. Building a first-level granary requires 200 energy points, 200 units of wood and 100 units of stone, which is enough. Yi Chun built a granary not far from the wooden house. Stones were piled up layer by layer at the bottom, and a thick granary rose from the ground. The wooden boards inside formed intervals, and the monster meat was neatly hung inside, keeping it fresh under the special properties of the granary. Build the first granary, reward 2,000 Lord points. Yi Chun took out a piece of monster meat and activated the purple talent biscuit master. The transparent film wrapped the whole piece of monster meat, and you could see the meat gradually decomposed and turned into round brown biscuits. Special biscuits, taste good and rich in nutrition, enough to satisfy your hunger. Yi Chun took out one and tasted it carefully. It tasted like the taste of compressed biscuits that he had eaten before, with a slightly salty taste. Angelina held the bag of biscuits and ate non-stop. The corners of her mouth were covered with biscuit crumbs. It's delicious. It feels like eating potato chips. Yi Chun rolled up his sleeves and prepared to pick up some firewood himself. The 2 temple warriors said in horror, My lord, Please leave this trivial matter to us, you just need to rest. Yi Chun said helplessly. Go out and hunt, now there are novices to protect, monsters cannot enter the territory, and the granary has just been built, the resources have bottomed out, and I have nothing to do. Angelina also patted the dregs on her hands, and said vaguely, that's right, I want to be with my dear too. The expressions of the two temple warriors eased. After all, Angelina's strength is obvious to all, and her presence is the best protection. Yi Chun knew very well what he should do in the first few days. Before the Lord's level had not improved, it was definitely an unwise choice to rush out of the territory to confront the monster. Therefore, we should take advantage of the novice protection period to complete the construction of all the buildings in the first-level territory. With the grace of the gold talent Chris, I can accumulate resources at a doubled rate, and then quickly upgrade the territory to the second level. After some labor, Yi Chun wiped the sweat from his forehead and built a well next to the cabin. The well water in Fairy Forest was clear and sweet. Yi Chun and Angelina drank several bowls before stopping. The warriors of the temple are tirelessly entering and leaving the territory, and the resources of the Lord interface are increasing rapidly. Near noon, Yi Chun took out several large pieces of monster meat from the granary, and Angelina quickly divided them into small pieces, and then into 1 centimeters. The granary can not only decompose monster corpses, but also extract some coarse salt from them. Under Yi Chun's order, the temple warriors stopped working and came to have lunch together by the fire. The monster meat is sizzling under the flame, exuding a unique meat aroma. Yi Chun lightly sprinkles large grains of coarse salt, and takes it off the fire when the meat is slightly browned. A large piece of roast meat crunched under chewing, Yi Chun felt an indescribable pain. Qian Lihao, hurry up. After being processed in the granary, the monster meat basically has no fishy smell, the meat is firm and delicious. The two temple warriors were shocked by such an exquisite way of eating. For them, eating is a matter of filling their stomachs, and raw meat can also be regarded as good food in a pinch. But when they ate the grilled kebabs, surprised smiles appeared on their scarred faces. It turned out that eating can also be a wonderful thing. While eating, Yi Chun put the monster meat on the World Channel to trade Jia. 20 units of boar meat can be exchanged for 200 units of stone. He originally thought that the price might be a bit high, but who knew it would be sold out immediately. Because each lord brings 100 units of stone, for those lords who can't eat enough, it's better to replace the stone with food. Boss, is there any more? The husky on my side is about to come up and bite me, please help. I just want to change to 3 units of food to get through today, who can move so fast? Boss, I'm in the cave, and I want the stone money to be controlled by the skeleton immediately. The sun sets. The forest of elves is full of towering giant trees, and when the faint sunlight is covered by the leaves, the entire territory is plunged into darkness. A simple tent was built in Yi Chun's territory, and 2 dried animal skin blankets were placed inside. The eyes of the two temple warriors gleamed in the darkness. Thank you Lord for your concern, this is the eye of night vision, allowing us to see monsters clearly in the dark. Good guy, are they planning to discredit and go hunting? Yi Chun shook his head and said, it's too dangerous. Even if you are very powerful, you can't always maintain a tense state. Now I order you to rest early and go out to collect resources before dawn tomorrow. The two temple warriors bowed their heads silently, and interlaced their hands in prayer, praise the Lord. Seeing them enter the tent with oil lamps, Yi Chun also returned to the cabin. The double bed was covered with thick blankets, and the blankets made of magic wolf fur were soft and smooth, making them perfect mattresses. Angelina sat cross-legged on the blanket with a smile in her eyes, her tail swaying in the air in a heart shape behind her. Honey, are the temple warriors resting? Well, they were planning to go hunting, but just in case, I ordered them to return to the tent. Angelina tilted her head and smiled, what? Can't you hunt at night? Then she snapped her fingers. Whenever night falls, the forest of elves only has the sound of cooing birds except for the chirping of insects, but tonight there are more strange noises. Early morning, Yi Chun slowly opened his eyes and looked at Angelina. Ha, good morning dear. Good morning, Lena. By observing the Lord's interface, Yi Chun saw that the energy points were constantly rising to 810. It seems that the temple warriors went out of the territory to hunt after dawn, and carried out their orders meticulously. Serve breakfast with special biscuits. Yi Chun opens the emulator interface and opens the void summoning option. Is the initial unit A-level Temple Warrior replaced by B-level Centaur? Yes. Yi Chun walked to the core of the Lord, and gently pressed his palm against the surface of the crystal. Initial unit, B-level Centaur. Number of calls, 3/3. Each call needs to consume 200 energy points. Use talent bloodline to improve. Yi Chun felt the trembling of his palms, and the sound of countless horseshoes and neighing surrounded the surroundings, and finally all merged into the core of the Lord. Initial arms, A-level Destroyer Core. Number of summons, 2/21. Each call needs to consume 500 energy points. Call all. The clatter of horseshoes sounded from outside the cabin. Yi Chun walked out of the wooden house and looked up to see two unusually sturdy figures. The upper body was burly and powerful, the wheat-colored muscles were prominent, the black hair was bundled into several knots and scattered on the back, and there was a confident smile on the face. And the lower body is a strong horse body, with shiny black fur, and the horse tail flicks back and forth. Array Breaking Cavalry, A-level Troop, Level 1 Superior, 3 Formation Breaking Cavalry can form a formation breaking trend, increase movement speed by 20% when charging, and increase resistance by 50% when colliding. The formation breaking cavalry bends its two front hooves, puts its right hand on its left shoulder, bends down deeply and is a head shorter than you. My lord, the formation breaking army is ready to attack at any time. Yi Chun immediately fulfilled their wish, and sent 2 formation breaking cavalry out of the territory to hunt monsters and find wild fruits. The sound of horseshoes staggered and disappeared from Yi Chun's eyes in a blink of an eye. Angelina opened the Lord interface. As the sole executive of Yi Chun, she also has some authority of the Lord, able to check the resources in the territory, control the existing buildings and defense facilities but cannot build them. Honey, according to this efficiency, we can be promoted to the second-level territory today. Yi Chun saw that the upgrade conditions for the secondary territory are very simple: 200 units of iron ore, 500 units of wood, 500 units of stone and 500 energy points. Go to the World Channel by yourself and exchange some other resources to meet the needs of upgrading the territory. Now 20 food units can be exchanged for 200 units of stones in seconds. Yi Chun doesn't care about the group of lords who sell miserably on the World Channel. According to the previous simulation, he knows the truth of promoting Min and fighting Mi Chu. Noon. The formation breaking cavalry came back first, holding piles of wild fruits in their arms, and 2 monster corpses on their horses. Immediately afterwards, the temple warriors returned to their territory, dragging wood and stone. The formation breaking cavalry put down the wild fruit in their arms, and came to the temple warrior with great interest, patted his shoulder and said, "Hi, old man, it's our first time meeting. I belong to the Lord's formation breaking army, and we need to get along well. Relationship." Yi Chun saw the temple warrior's eyelids twitch, and then said with a smile, "Okay." Angelina had a great time eating the wild fruit. This blue fruit was sweet and sour, and it tasted like the blue star apple. Yi Chun took out the prepared cauldron, and casually used the annihilation staff to ignite the wood pile below, which caused the cavalryman who broke the formation to exclaim, "Magic! My God, it's magic!" For centaurs, they have pursued a strong physique since birth, and have never been exposed to magical factors such as magic, so they look at Yi Chun with awe in their eyes. Yi Chun took the bucket from Angelina, poured well water into the cauldron, put the pieces of meat into it to stew, and then threw the leftover orange peel into it. The fragrance of meat and orange peel comes out, and finally put a few spoonfuls of coarse salt. The temple warrior bowed his head and prayed. He felt that the Lord seemed to be omnipotent, every field is the Lord's strong point. This is also due to the fact that Yi Chun learned how to cook delicious food through various books during the simulated gap, and even learned how to refine coarse salt. Fortunately, it can be produced in the granary, saving him a lot of effort. The breakaway cavalry sat with bent hooves, staring intently at the bubbling broth. With such a huge body, they need about 3 to 4 times the amount of food eaten by common people. And Yi Chun is well aware of this, so when making the broth this time, all the monster meat used has not been amplified by Chris's favor. The second cauldron is right next to it, and as Gold's phantom of ears of wheat falls from the sky, the 2 large cauldrons of broth emit a tangy aroma at the same time. Yi Chun waved his hand. Dinner. Afternoon. Yi Chun and Angelina stood beside the core of the Lord. Upgrading the second-level territory requires 200 units of iron ore, 500 units of wood, 500 units of stone and 500 energy points. Do you want to upgrade? Confirm. The resources in the Lord interface were instantly emptied, and Yi Chun felt the ground began to tremble. The wooden house began to disintegrate into debris from below, and at the same time, Qingxi bricks filled the gaps in the wooden house and began to spiral upwards. Yi Chun gently hugged Angelina's shoulders and looked out. The scope of his territory expanded outwards around himself. The monsters wandering outside were knocked out by the novice protective cover, replenished into the granary on the spot, and became fresh ingredients. When all is said and done, Yi Chun walked up the steps to the top of the stone castle. The 4-story stone castle stands in the Forest of Elves. From the top of the roof, you can see the dense forest and the mountains under the clouds. Upgrade the second-level territory and reward 8,000 Lord points. Yi Chun felt his chest overflowing with pride, and his stone castle rose from the ground in a single thought. Going back to the bottom floor, Yi placed the Lord core in the room on the second floor of the stone castle. Then use the largest room on the third floor as the living room, and move the wooden bed and other furniture here. Angelina arranged the room briefly, then turned around and said, "Honey, what should we do next?" Yes, the workshop hasn't been built yet. Yi Chun went downstairs quickly and chose to build a workshop next to the stone fort. To build a workshop requires 50 units of iron ore, 100 units of wood, 200 units of stone and 200 energy points, and there are just some resources left. The workshop was built close to the outside of the stone castle, with a square top and a heavy enclosed door. Yi Chun opened the door and entered, and what greeted his eyes was an extremely long square table, on which were placed various scroll-style drawings, some of which were glittering with gold rims. This is the drawing I got during the simulation. Yi Chun opened one at random, and a projection jumped out of the drawing, and every step of the construction was deduced over and over again in the air. The device with deep grooves rotates in the air, the head forms a curved bow, and the arrows projected into the grooves are continuously fired. Yi Chun recognized it at a glance. This is the blueprint of the charging ballista. The other blueprints are similar. Beside the neat ones, the epic level blueprints are all inlaid with gold edges, and even the jumping out projections are golden. There are also 2 rooms surrounded by stone bricks in the workshop, one of which stores a smelting furnace, which can decompose other metal equipment and turn it into iron ore resources. The other is the forge, turning weapons from blueprints into reality. Sword of Holy Light blueprint, rare grade, has a purification effect, causing irreversible damage to demons and undead, requires 50 units of fine iron ore, 10 monster crystal cores and 2,000 energy points. Yi Chun finally understood why he always used the mirror image of the Sword of Light for the arms during the simulation. Because I can't afford it. Fortunately, I have the talent of the world in the mirror. The weakened version is the weakened version, it is better than nothing. Yi Chun walked out of the workshop. It is the second day of the Supreme Continent, and the novice protection period has not yet passed, and I have already taken the lead in building a second-level territory. Yi Chun glanced at the world channel. Great, my kobold finally killed a sand leopard. You can eat meat today. Wood for stone, some will come. Help, the wooden house is about to be demolished by Erha, what should I do? Yi Chun stretched after getting up, and saw a reminder appearing at the top of World Channel. The novice protection period is the last day, please be ready to protect your territory, lords. Can you delay it for another day? I'm so flustered without the novice protective cover. Which father will give me some stones and let me build a circle of walls? Is there a lord in the 99th area of the fairy forest? I'm a girl lord, can you help me? My arms are female wild beasts, please form an alliance and cooperate. Yi Chun smiled. Now they are so nervous without the novice protective cover. When the beast horde comes, I'm afraid they will all cry for their father and mother. However, there must be most lords like me who are unwilling to speak on the world channel, and lords with B-level and above troops should have a good life. Because Yi Chun saw that the ratio of food units exchanged for stones has almost been reduced by half. It means that there is food overflow from other lords, and they have started to exchange other resources on the world channel. Come to the front of the core of the Lord. A metal Rubik's Cube appeared in Yi Chun's hand. Lucky Rubik's Cube. Every time you press the white cube in the center, the Rubik's Cube will be randomly disrupted, and it will provide a temporary lucky value bonus after recovery. Crack! The lucky Rubik's Cube floated into the air, and each edge began to spin dazzlingly, and finally fell into his palm. Yi Chun twisted his hands quickly, and in less than 2 minutes, the Rubik's Cube could be fully restored with one step left. Then he held the lucky Rubik's Cube in his left hand, and his right hand was close to the Lord's core. Initial arms. A-level destroyer core. Number of calls. 2 halves. Each call needs to consume 500 energy points. Second level territory effect. The Lord will have a very low probability of summoning special units. The lucky Rubik's Cube recovered under the touch of the index finger, and Yi Chun felt a gentle force brushing over his head. This feeling was stronger than when he was in Blue Star. Call all. A burst of holy light erupted from the core of the Lord, instantly lighting up the entire room. Yi Chun took back the lucky Rubik's Cube and quickly walked down the stone castle. A female centaur with a soft smile on her face and her long ears hanging down her sides was already waiting at the door. Her upper body is slender, with long strips of cloth wrapping around her chest several times from her armpits. The horse's body is covered with dark red fur, and there is a ring of white fluff on the 4 hooves. Army Breaking Priest, A-level troop, first tier superior, with skill-boosting aura and healing aura. After joining the team, it can bring attack and recovery buffs to other formation-breaking cavalry. Good morning, my lord. She bent down slightly. Yi Chun's eyes scanned up and down following the violent shaking of the cloth. As expected of priest, there is milk and output. The 2 formation-breaking cavalry came back from carrying prey outside the territory, and stopped immediately after seeing the formation-breaking priest. Leader, good morning, my lord. The centaur raised its voice and stood in front of Yi Chun with small steps on its hooves. Yi Chun asked, "You guys just came back from hunting?" "That's right." The centaur showed off the carcass of the leopard on horseback to Yi Chun, looking at priest from time to time. "My lord, this time I'm hunting the leopard. I'll charge it first, dodge the bite attack, and then..." Yi Chun held his forehead helplessly. If he had to report in such detail every time he hunted, he would have been annoyed to death. "Drunkards don't mean to drink. I don't think these 2 centaurs are talking to me." Yi Chun patted priest's horse back, and there was a soft and rolling touch. Okay, you go hunting with them. I remember that 3 centaurs can form a force to break the formation. The eyes of the 2 formation-breaking cavalry lit up, and they immediately stopped chattering. Breaking the formation, priest covered his mouth and laughed softly. "Of order, my lord." Yi Chun saw them forming a triangular team, with a sharp wind wall around them, rushing to the outside at an extremely fast speed, and the branches they encountered on the way were instantly broken and scattered. As a unique passive of the A-level armies, the formation-breaking force shows its powerful strength. Angelina returned to Stone Castle. She patrolled around the territory early in the morning to confirm the dividing line of the territory. "Honey, I just saw a female centaur." "That's right, those 2 formation-breaking cavalry almost made their eyeballs pop out. I really don't understand where they got so much energy." Yi Chun opened the Lord interface, with Angelina pointing at the side. Common stone walls can be built in the 2nd-level territory, and each 100 yards mainly consumes 200 units of stone and 100 energy points. Since the resources in the initial period of the territory were not very sufficient, Yi Chun did not choose to build the epic-level building, Sighing Wall, which consumes a lot of resources. Another advantage of building a stone wall is that the rechargeable ballista can be installed on it to replace the novice protective cover to provide a certain degree of shelter for the territory. Angelina planned the route and scope of the stone wall construction in advance. Yi Chun opened his hands, and saw the red phantom of the stone wall surrounding the entire territory. Start building. With the reduction of stone resources, the sound of bricks colliding rose and fell in the territory. Countless bricks fell from the sky and fell into the ravine on the edge of the territory. A stone wall about 3 meters high gradually surrounded the territory. Yi Chun and Angelina climbed up the stone wall from the back steps. The top is about 2 meters wide, with a flat and smooth surface, and a half-waist-high masonry guardrail. There are double doors in the 4 directions of the territory, and all arms have the right to open and close. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chun took out a scroll from his arms. Charging Ballista. Rare level defense tool. Construction cost 50 units of iron ore, 200 units of wood, 200 energy points. It needs to be built on the surface of defensive buildings or fortifications. It can launch a giant arrow about 1 meter long. Each launch needs to consume 2 units of iron ore, 10 units of wood and 10 energy points. 0. Put up. A brand new charged ballista appeared on the stone wall fence, with a third of its length exposed, pointing at a wandering demon dog outside. Yi Chun issued a launch command through the Lord interface, and a giant arrow condensed from the groove of the charging ballista, flew out instantly, pierced the head of the demon dog, and made a huge buzzing sound from the tail. Angelina wowed. Honey, I want to play too. As the sole executive officer, she also has the authority to launch the rechargeable ballista. Yi Chun saw Angelina aiming left and right like a child, and nailed the arrows into the surrounding trees first. Yi Chun saw from the Lord interface that the rechargeable ballista can achieve high accuracy when manually controlled, and it is almost impossible to miss a shot. However, it can also be set to the automatic attack mode. At this time, the accuracy will drop a lot, and the attack range is also limited to the arc area in front, which is easy to consume a lot of resources. Yi Chun doesn't really care about consuming resources. After having Chris's favor in A-level units, the speed of resource increase should not be too fast. Moreover, the formation-breaking cavalry and temple warriors are very smart. If conditions permit, they will definitely return to the territory with half-dead prey, and then execute them, fully triggering the grace of the talent Chris. After playing for a while, Angelina turned off the attack mode of the rechargeable ballista. Now there is still a novice protective cover, and there is no need for automatic attack for the time being. Yi Chun glanced at the resource situation of the Lord's interface, and by night, he would be able to deploy a rechargeable ballista in all 4 directions of the territory. The 2 temple warriors returned from a distance, saw the brand new city wall and the erected charged ballista, stopped silently, and interlaced their hands, praised the Lord and the Lord level is raised to the first level, rewarding 1,000 Lord points. Yi Chun closed his eyes, and felt the power in his body continuously condensing, and his spiritual power also increased rapidly. He took out the Staff of Annihilation, and 2 fireballs were entangled and rotated on the top of the staff, launched into the air and exploded with a bang. That's right, with the current level, twin fireballs can be easily used. The temple warriors and battle riders are constantly hunting monsters outside the territory, and the rewarded experience points can not only improve Yi Chun's Lord level, even Angelina can enjoy a 50% increase in experience points. Yi Chun put away the Annihilation Staff. He was already very satisfied with achieving this kind of power in the early stage. The most important thing is the 7th order cracking aura, which can be used to eliminate the destructive energy of the Red Dragon's remains. The area that is descending now is the number 65 area of the Elf Forest. According to the simulation results, the Elf Sarah can be found in the depths of the forest in 52 days. And Phyllis, who has the Witch Constitution, is in the number 5 area of the Fairy Forest, and the Big 890 will meet her and other villagers about 51 days after the curtain is lifted. The shortest time to descend is 1 day, as long as you descend to Area 5 in 51 days, and then return to Area 65 in the depths of the Elf Forest the next day, you can do 2-line operation. Not only can Phyllis and the villagers be saved, but Sarah can also be notified in advance to prepare to defeat the army of the Ruhr Empire. There are also those monster lairs and hostile lords. Yi Chun was writing and drawing in the stone castle room, and the sun was about to set. The temple warriors temporarily lived in tents. They were very satisfied with this residence, and they moved the tents to the gate after the stone wall was built. Yi Chun built 3 stable-like rooms with wide and high doors, tables nearly 1 meter high, no beds but straw mats on the ground. Let the Lord worry about it. With a smile on his face, the broken cavalry returned to their new home with an oil lamp. Breaking the formation, Priest was whispering with Angelina, not knowing what they were talking about, but seeing Angelina's wagging tail, Yi Chun felt that he had better not get involved. The 4th day of the Supreme Continent. The novice shield shattered and disappeared. The monsters in the jungle seemed to be aware of this, and stare at the leader. Yi Chun looked at the charged ballista on the stone wall and opened the Lord interface. Do you want to set the charging ballista to automatic attack mode? Yes. The charged ballistas around the territory slowly adjusted their launch ports, and the giant crossbow arrows shot towards the bushes with a bang. The formation-breaking cavalry also patrols around the territory to remove monsters wandering around the territory. Now there are 3 centaurs from the Breaking Legion and 2 temple warriors. Do you need to summon the succubus? Yi Chun glanced at Angelina, and instantly dismissed the idea. Let's call the celestial beings. They have the ability to fly, and they can help me investigate better. Since the sea-level wingmen were not in the pre-selection area, Yi Chun spent 900 Lord points to redeem the summoning times of 3 wingmen. Then use the bloodline to improve your talents. Call all. 3 giant bird eggs with cyan shells appeared in front of the Lord's core. When Yi Chun touched the surface of the egg, it was slightly hot and rough, and he could feel it trembling slightly. Why do I have an inexplicable sense of tension? 2 hours later, small cracks appeared on the cyan eggshell, and then it began to vibrate greatly, making a rattling sound. Yi Chun took a step back, and the 3 cyan eggs broke at the same time. Tianren got out of the eggshell wet all over, and came to Yi Chun. Their short hair is wet and glued to their foreheads, a pair of white wings grow on their backs, and their feet are sharp 4-legged claws. The heavenly people clenched their fists on their chests, their faces were delicate, their big eyes with extremely long eyelashes stared at Yi Chun's face, and then they shouted in a pleasant voice, "My lord." So cute. Yi Chun took out a blanket for them to wipe their bodies, and soon the feathers on Tianren's back and chest became fluffy. Wow, this is a forest. Great, great, I want to hang out. No, you must listen to the words of the Lord. Yi Chun opened the window and said, "Well, you guys go out and pick some wild fruits first." The 3 celestial beings happily embraced Yi Chun, then spread their wings and flew into the air. Yi Chun took off the feathers on his body with a smile. Simulation and reality are really different. Come to the workshop. Yi Chun found the hatchet mentioned in the previous simulation. Hatchet, common level, requires 1 unit of iron ore, 5 units of wood and 10 energy points. Build 9 first. 9 brand new hatchets quickly appeared on the forging table. Their axes were not thick, but they were quite sharp. They were not suitable for cutting trees at first glance, but were used for chopping flesh and bones. Very good. The celestial beings rely on this to carry out long-range attacks. When my lord level reaches the 2nd level, I will use the mirror world to create some hatchet images for them to use. Tianren quickly returned to the territory with a large pile of wild fruits. They have excellent vision in the air, and can easily fly to fruit trees to pick fresh fruits. My lord, we are back. Yi Chun smiled and patted their heads, then handed them the hatchet hanging on the belt. There are 3 pockets on each belt for carrying the hatchet, which is convenient for heaven and earth to take in the air. Yi Chun reached out to help Tianren put on their belts. Their waists are very thin, and they would laugh when they touched their sides accidentally. I know you can defeat monsters with sharp claws, but close combat is always dangerous, so flying axes is more suitable for you. The heavenly people nodded cutely, spread their wings and flew into the air, and soon mastered the trick of throwing axes. Ha ha ha, it's so interesting. Let's go out with a whoosh. Hey, don't grab the prey from me, this little devil horse is mine. I don't want to pick up an axe for you. Angelina pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Honey, when will you give me some axes?" Yi Chun coughed dryly. No need, no need, Lena is already strong enough, come and eat the wild fruit, it's very fresh. Although the heavenly beings fight in the air when they have nothing to do, their deterrent power can be seen with the naked eye. After all, mastering the air supremacy means mastering the entire battlefield. None of the monsters wanted to be decapitated by a flying axe, so when they passed by the territory, they all shrank their necks and burrowed into the woods. Several giant trees are also included after the territory is expanded. Yi Chun built 3 tree houses on the trunk of the giant tree, which are much bigger than expected. At least Yi Chun doesn't feel cramped when he lives on them. Heaven and man hit it off with the broken cavalry. Centaurs are very fond of these lively little guys and allow them to stand on horseback and have fun. Hoo 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 hoo. The Lord said that the straight line between 2 points is the shortest. We are walking in a straight line in the air. What? Even the Lord said that? Yi Chun saw that the temple warrior had the same expression as himself, with a helpless face, but the corners of his mouth were raised. The world channel is also very lively. After the novice protection period is over, every lord has their own way to deal with it. I organized the arms into 2 teams and circled the territory. I don't believe that monsters can't be used. Which boss needs ore? Hurry up and trade food to me. I sealed the exit of the cave, and now I rely on slimes to mine. After I develop for a few days, go out and fight with them. Hey, the black-backed gorilla is so rude but powerful. Yi Chun's eyes lit up, and he quickly traded the food to the lord who owns the slime. The ore dug out by the slime is of high quality. Yi Chun did some calculations and went to the second-level workshop tomorrow. The second-level workshop can refine iron ore, and with the iron ore and the crystal nuclei obtained by the temple warriors, they can make the Sword of Light. Not bad. Collect all the items to be manufactured in the initial stage in these 7 days. The 5th day of the Supreme Continent. Yi Chun summons 2 temple warriors. The probability of summoning the second-level territory is too low. Without the blessing of the Lucky Cube, it is difficult to summon special units. The 2 temple warriors walked up to their comrades, exchanged a few words, then crossed their hands, shouted praises to the Lord, and walked out of the territory to hunt. Upgrading the second-level workshop requires 100 units of iron ore, 200 units of wood, 300 units of stone and 500 energy points. Yi Chun saw that the appearance of the second-level workshop was not much different from that of the first-level workshop, but the melting furnaces and forging tables inside were completely new, and all of them were upgraded to the second level. 10 units of iron ore can be refined into 1 unit of refined iron ore through a smelting furnace. Yi Chun endured the pain to smelt 500 units of iron ore. The smelting furnace was flickering with flames, dissolving the impurities in the iron ore. The formation-breaking cavalry and temple warriors occasionally brought back monsters with crystal nuclei, but not all of them had them, so the number of crystal nuclei was only a dozen. Yi Chun took out 10 colorful crystal nuclei, which were about 25 in size, and tiny light spots could be seen flowing continuously in the crystal nuclei. Select the blueprint of the Sword of Light in the Lord interface, and then confirm. The crystal nucleus in Yi Chun's hand disappeared in an instant, and the forging table made a tinkling sound. The forging table in the second-level workshop will take 8 hours to complete, so wait a little longer. After the 4 temple warriors joined the hunt, their efficiency improved significantly. Yi Chun built them a second tent. In Angelina's plan, the third-level territory will have a separate residential area for the citizens to live in, and the temple warriors will also be arranged outside the residential area. As for the formation-breaking cavalry and celestial beings, the former needed to live in special houses because of their size, and even the roads had to be very wide for them to go out and fight. The latter have the nature of living in trees, so they can only set aside a forest in their territory for them to play. Yi Chun went to the granary, and the food had reached a huge amount of 800 units. The first-level granary can store up to 1,000 units of food. Build another one. The 2 first-level granaries were side by side, and Emo produced another large piece of raw meat. Under the catalysis of the talented biscuit master, the raw meat gradually turned into a bag of round biscuits, and the phantom shadows of gold ears of wheat sprinkled down. Yi Chun came to the centaur's residential area with 2 bags of special biscuits in his arms. The cavalrymen who broke the formation were resting and drinking water. When they saw Yi Chun approaching, they immediately turned around. "My lord." Yi Chun smiled and handed them the cookies. "Try it." I remember that in the simulation, this group of centaurs seemed to like eating this special pancake very much. The formation-breaking cavalry crunched the biscuits, and their eyes instantly became intoxicated. This taste has an indescribable feeling, but... One by one, the 2 formation-breaking cavalry emptied all the biscuits in the bag. Breaking the array, Priest shook his long ears up and down, holding his face with a smile on his face. "It's delicious." Celestial Man fell from above and hugged Jun's neck from behind with a hey laugh. "Hey hey, my lord, what good food are you eating? Try it." Special biscuits. Heavenly Man ate a few mouthfuls, frowned and said, "It's salty and sweet, just like grass roots." "I see." Seeing Priest swaying ponytail, Yi Chun thought that centaurs still couldn't get rid of the smell engraved in their DNA. Afternoon. The second-level workshop emitted a flash of golden light. Yi Chun walked quickly to the forging platform. The sword of holy light was placed on it. The hilt was silver and white, and the sword was slender and flowing with milky white light. "Good sword." Yi Chun stretched out his hand to pick up the hilt of the sword, and brushed the blade with his left hand naturally, as smoothly and gracefully as a master swordsman. Under the blessing of Purple's talented weapon master, Yi Chun flipped his wrist, and the sword of holy light surrounded his body to form a special posture. Don't panic if you have a sword in your hand. Yi Chun wants to rush out of the territory right now, and find some monsters to try out the sword one-on-one. Outside the territory, Angelina stood at a distance with a smile on her face, but her hands were slightly exerted, ready to use mind control at any time. The temple warrior's face was solemn, and a gleaming holy chain was condensed in his hand. As long as the situation was not right, he could attack immediately. The formation-breaking cavalry also formed a formation-breaking trend, with their horseshoes stepping on the ground and digging deep into the soil. Only heaven and man were laughing and laughing in the air. My lord, there are no monsters around. Yi Chun sighed, and shouted to the others, hey, why are you so nervous, aren't you just a Tier 1 demon dog? Angelina put on a smile. Honey, why are we nervous, why don't you come out to find monsters to fight one-on-one? Yi Chun shook his head, excitedly raised the sword of holy light and walked towards the demon dog. The demon dog left salivating saliva at the corner of its mouth, kicked its hindpaws on the ground, and rushed towards Yi Chun in an instant. Shua! There was a flash of silver light. The dog's head whirled and danced in the air, and the blood melted into black smoke. Yi Chun shook the sword body, and said with a satisfied face, good sword. The Lord is so handsome. Heaven and man could see clearly from the sky. Yi Chun turned sideways the moment the devil dog started to bite. It looked like the devil dog hit its neck on the blade by itself. The holy chain in the hands of the temple warriors turned into dots of light and disappeared. They looked at each other with a smile on their scarred faces. For them, it is a very lucky and proud thing for the Lord to have such excellent swordsmanship, and the warriors put their strength first. The formation-breaking cavalry had already come to Yi Chun's side, and their horseshoes were restlessly stepping up and down, staring at the holy light sword in his hand, their eyes full of longing. My lord, didn't you say that you want to equip us with some handy weapons? Then this one. Yi Chun quickly put the holy light sword back on his waist. This group of centaurs are quite knowledgeable. Do you know how much resources this thing cost me? Ahem, since ancient times, centaurs have not used long swords. But my lord, I think this one is pretty good. Wait, I will make some spears for you from the workshop tomorrow. Those things are much easier to use than swords. Have you heard of Shi Changqiang? The centaur's eyes lit up, and he nodded desperately, good lord. I'm relieved when you say that. Tianren slid down from the sky with a smile, his arms hanging around Yi Chun's neck naturally. Lord, teach us. Yi Chun's nose was itchy due to the feathers on their wings, and he held back from sneezing and said, well, you can just use a hatchet, but you need to be close with a long sword, and you carry a higher load, the flight speed will be affected. In the future, I will make some improved hatchets for you to use, and they are consumables, so you don't need to pick them up again. The heavenly people looked at each other in blank dismay. Are there any hatchets in the world that don't need to be retrieved? It was like a dream. It's great. Tianren leaned on Yi Chun's back with a smile, his clothes were covered with white feathers in a short while. Angelina sighed helplessly, and came over to separate the three celestial beings. Okay, the sun is about to set, let's prepare the ingredients and cook. Angelina said while picking the feathers from Yi Chun's body. Honey, although I can easily defeat the devil dog this time, I can't. Yi Chun turned sideways to let the sword of light avoid Angelina, patted her head and said, I see. I hate it, I haven't finished talking yet, let's talk about it in the evening. Yi Chun said with a guilty conscience, it's agreed to just chat. With the increase of troops, it is impossible for Yi Chun to make 3 meals. Fortunately, although the temple warriors have no requirements for food, they still have a strong learning ability. Under Yi Chun's personal teaching, the broth and barbecue are also well prepared. As for the staple food, it is usually the special biscuits made by Yi Chun. But every time he sees the food of a centaur, Yi Chun wonders if he has mixed something in it. How can it be so delicious? The 6th day of the Supreme Continent. Yi Chun saw that the warriors of the temple returned to the territory with a huge black bear on their backs, and his lord level successfully reached the 2nd level lower level. Holding the staff of annihilation in hand, Whitehead's inheritance continuously transmits subtle magical understandings to his mind, improving Yi Chun's magical talent like a drizzle. A clear water column was generated from the top of the staff, splashing countless water columns on the stone wall. Not bad, at least it can extinguish a small area of flames. Yi Chun put away the staff of annihilation and felt a sense of emptiness. Fortunately, after the Lord's level was raised, his resilience was also strengthened, and he could return to normal after a period of rest. The temple warrior hunted some water ghosts from the water pool and got 6 blue water ghost crystal cores. Materials should be enough for today. Yi Chun walked far away from the stone castle, almost reaching the edge of the stone wall on the other side. Alchemy Workshop. Special building. Construction cost: 200 units of iron ore, 400 units of wood, 500 units of stone, 1000 energy points need to be built in an area far from the core of the Lord 1. Effect: all kinds of alchemy props and medicines are allowed to be deployed, and the relevant blueprints will be unlocked with the level of the territory. Recruiting alchemy masters can greatly increase the alchemy efficiency and research progress. Alchemist. Yi Chun recalled that he didn't seem to have encountered such a person in the previous simulation, so the simulation result would not mention this aspect. It seems that there are also alchemy workshops in the local empire to make alchemy props. Very good, I will try to dig a few alchemy masters back. The alchemy workshop started to be built close to the stone wall, and soon a curved-shaped building appeared, with a red semicircular roof above it, and a short and thick chimney protruding from each side, which looked very distinctive. Angelina, come and see. A beautiful figure came rushing from the stone castle, and the 2 little magic horns were shining brightly. That's great, honey. How did you know I wanted to build an alchemy workshop today? Angelina cheered and dragged Yi Bo's hand and ran into the alchemy workshop. Yi Chun saw the interior of the alchemy workshop and nodded. It is indeed a special building, but it is different from others. The overall wall is composed of bright white stone bricks, with various glass flasks and other utensils in the middle, and 2 stone furnaces for dissolution are placed in the innermost. There are dozens of alchemy blueprints hanging on the bookshelf, and several rows of potions of various colors are placed on the other side of the shelf. Angelina walked around the alchemy workshop excitedly, picking up the potion and smelling it from time to time, with a satisfied look on her face. Yi Chun heard her whispering, "How to prepare the pink potion, let me think about it." No, let her bury this thought in her heart. Yi Chun hurriedly interrupted, "By the way, Lena, I have a few water ghost crystal nuclei here. I remember that in the simulation, I can make alchemy items such as Frost Storm. Let's try it." Angelina put down the potion in her hand, nodded and said, "Okay dear. I'll look for it. I found it." Yi Chun saw that she was holding a Zon blue scroll in her hand, and the aerial projection recorded the combination sequence of various potions. The water ghost crystal nucleus melted in the stone furnace, and then turned into a pile of crystals. Then they are assembled layer by layer through special containers, and finally form a cylindrical alchemy tool Jin. Frost Storm. Alchemy props. Materials required: 5 water ghost crystal nuclei, 10 units of layering solvent, 10 units of crystallization solvent, 10 units of viscose, 5 units of fine iron ore, 100 energy points. The creator needs to follow the steps operation, there is a certain failure rate. Effect: press the mechanism and throw it out. Depending on the quality of the crystal nucleus, a blizzard with extremely low temperature will be formed within a certain circular range. Yi Chun rubbed his temples, thinking that it is no wonder that Angelina can be seen acting in the alchemy workshop every simulation. It turns out that these alchemy props need to be manually made step by step, which not only consumes materials but also has the possibility of failure. "Honey, I saw that in the alchemy workshop, those layered solvents can be replenished with energy points. Let's start making them now." Yi Chun rolled up his sleeves, picked up the blueprint of Froststorm and said, "Come on." Wow, these water ghost nuclei are so hard to get after they melt. Angelina carefully took out the crystal nucleus liquid from the hot stone furnace, and the deep blue crystal nucleus turned into a blue solution under the fusion agent and high temperature. Yi Chun slowly ground the other 2 water ghost crystal nuclei with a stone mortar to form Zon blue crystal powder. The 2 meticulously followed the drawing steps and prepared the required raw materials. Finally, Angelina uses energy points to turn the fine iron ore into a special container. Don't worry, add the crystal nucleus solution first, then put the separator and separation liquid. When the topmost lid is closed, the cylindrical alchemical object glows with a deep blue light. Angelina cheered. Success. Yi Chun wiped the sweat from her forehead with a towel and said, "We are really good." Angelina poked his waist with her hand, and said with a smile, "Oh, honey, you seem to have ground some water ghost crystal cores." Yi Chun blushed and said, "That's why I participated." The two boarded the stone wall on the south side, and Yi Chun first turned off the automatic attack mode of the charging ballista. Soon, 4 scavengers emerged from the woods. Their backs were covered with strange tumors, and a stench could be smelled from a distance. A half-person wide mirror appeared in front of Yi Chun, and the frost storm was blurred in the reflection. He stretched out right hand to the mirror. Looking from the side, his arm seemed to disappear into the air suddenly. With the continuous decline of mental power, Yi Chun successfully took out the mirror image of Froststorm. The scavengers weaved closer to the territory, raising their heads to find the ledge of the stone wall. Yi Chun pressed the mechanism under the mirror image of the Froststorm, and heard the sound of clattering, and all the solutions and powders were fused in an instant. Patter. The mirror image of the Froststorm fell in front of the scavenging hyena, cracked with a bang, and then disappeared into mirror fragments. And a small-scale blizzard has quietly arrived. When the snowflakes and cold wind blew, the scavenging coyote turned and ran towards the woods, but it was too late. The grass is covered with dots of ice crystals, and the storm revolves around the landing point, instantly producing a large amount of white steam. The scavenging coyote opened its mouth wide, its 2 rows of sharp teeth froze and cracked, its hair was covered with white snowflakes, its limbs became more and more stiff, and finally stood still in place. Yi Chun held Angelina on his chest. Even the weakened version of the Froststorm was extremely cold, but fortunately, it lasted for a very short time. It's so strong. According to my lord's 2nd-tier lower level, the mirror image taken out of the mirror world has about 20% of the power of the original version, but it's already very good. Angelina wiped the snowflakes on her eyebrows, and said pleasantly, "You can still see snow." When Yi Chun heard these words, he thought of the northern continent. Lords with the same talent and arms can live well in the elf forest or the nightless plain, but it is difficult to survive the second wave of beasts in the northern continent. Judging from the simulation results, the lord who can survive from there is definitely a strong one in a million. But only if he doesn't meet the frost dragon. The power of the frost storm satisfied Yi Chun. Of course, Angelina was more happy. She could freely mix various medicines in the alchemy workshop, and had a great time playing. Yi Chun came to the forging room of the workshop. In addition to the hatchets used by the celestial beings, there are also some spears and machetes in the basic weapon blueprints, all of which are of common quality. If it is used for a little longer, the blade will curl or break. The advantage is that it is cheap and can be produced. Iron-headed spear, common grade, requires 2 units of iron ore, 15 units of wood and 20 energy points. Make 10 and give them to the centaurs. The forging table clanged, and compared to the 8-hour production time for the Sword of Holy Light, these common-level weapons were produced almost instantly. The iron-headed spear is about 4 meters long, with an iron-pointed point embedded in the head, and the long shaft is dark red throughout and has a certain degree of elasticity. Yi Chun struggled to carry 5 spears on his shoulders. If it weren't for the strength bonus brought by the Lord level, he would not be able to carry so many spears at once. The spear leaned against the outer wall of the workshop, casting a long shadow. The cavalry who broke the formation saw Yi Chun's figure from a long distance, and came galloping from the gate with cheers. "My lord, is this the spear you mentioned?" Yi Chun saw the centaur holding the iron-tipped spear with one hand, his muscles protruding all over his body, and he turned a few circles in the air, making a whoosh sound of piercing the air. "Oh oh 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 oh. Thank you Lord. The centaur galloped outside the workshop as if it had picked up a new toy, and even threw it forward forcefully. The spear drew an arc in the air and penetrated deep into the ground. Priest, on the other hand, was more reserved. She waved her spear a few times before standing beside Yi Chun with a smile. The heavenly man descended from the sky and stuffed the red fruit in Yi Chun's mouth. "Lord, please try it. It's delicious. Well, it tastes good." Seeing the expectant eyes of heaven and man, Yi Chun smiled and opened a large bag next to it, which contained more than 80 mirror images of hatchets. The mirror image of a common-level weapon not only consumes extremely low mental power, but also has half the power of the original version. So Yi Chun took advantage of the opportunity to create a batch of hatchet mirror images for use by celestial beings. Wow! Thank you, Lord. The 3 hatchets hung from the waist of the celestial man flew into the air in mirror images. When the hatchets spun and fell to the tree trunk, they snapped into pieces, leaving a deep dent in the east. That's great. You don't have to pick up axes anymore. Yi Chun looked up at the celestial beings flying in the air, thinking about whether to name them. Is this a little too intimate? Wait and ask Angelina what she thinks. Angelina is different from all other arms. She belongs to Yi Chun's unique soul executive. She has her own name from the moment the Lord's core appears, and she also has a large part of the Lord's authority. When Yi Chun first came to the Supreme Continent, he was still substituting the thinking of a simulator, thinking that the arms are like puppets that can execute orders. But after getting along with each other during this time, everything is completely opposite. Their thinking is even more lively than Yi Chun himself. Evening. When Yi Chun returned to the living room, Angelina was already sitting on a chair waiting, her hands mysteriously placed behind her back, biting her lips with a wicked smile on her face. Before she could speak, Yi Chun said first, "Lena, I have something important to discuss with you." Angelina raised her eyebrows, and put a small bottle of powder red potion in her hand on the table. Yi Chun was terrified. "Can I fall asleep after drinking this stuff? What's the matter, dear?" Yi Chun told her his thoughts. Angelina's expression was slightly taken aback, and her eyes were full of tenderness. "So I wanted to name them, my dear is still so tender." Yi Chun hesitated. "How about this idea, will they agree?" Angelina wrapped her tail around Yi Chun's wrist, and said seriously, "Of course. My dear, think about it, what will happen to other lords if they meet these obedient heavenly beings and broken-up priests?" Yi Chun raised his head. Because of the influence of gold's natural charisma, he never considered the issue of loyalty, and now he finally understands. Unruly behavior will lead to a decrease in loyalty points, and even cause backlash. "I see, what about the name?" Angelina picked up the powdered red potion, and said, "Let them wake up by themselves, come on. This is the recovery potion I specially prepared for you." The 7th day of the Supreme Continent. Angelina went out humming a ditty early in the morning, leaving Yi Chun alone in the room eating special biscuits. Yi Chun rubbed his waist, and felt that it was better not to use the annihilation staff to practice magic this morning, because both mental state and physical state needed to be adjusted. You must keep in mind that you can no longer be fooled by her into drinking some recovery potion. Yi Chun opened the simulator interface and saw that there was only 1 day left before the arrival time. "I don't know how I will go back after the time is over. I will return to the void alone. Then what should I do with such a large territory?" But thinking that he came to the forest of elves with the cabin at that time, Yi Chun saw the continuous stone wall through the window, and thought that it would be a bit too much work to bring the territory back. Yi Chun noticed that the Lord's unit interface has changed. Originally displayed cavalry breaking cavalry, 4 prison breaking priest, 1 heavenly man, 3 temple warrior, 4. And now the frames of the units are quietly separating from the overlapped state, and there is a golden edge shining outside each frame. Furbin, Battler Cavalry. Foya, Battler Cavalry. Kunla, Battler Cavalry. Quen, Battler Cavalry. Jillian, Breaking Array Priest. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Yi Chun instantly understood what Angelina was doing just now. It turned out that she asked each unit to give herself a name, and the Lord interface also recognized this practice. Each unit is no longer a separate unit of measurement. At this time, the living room window was kicked open with a snap. The 3 celestial beings flew towards Yi Chun. Hey, Lord, we have a name." In Yi Chun's eyes, 3 names appeared on their heads in turn, Yi, Yeer, and Yishan. Although they are both angels, their personalities are quite different. Yi was the liveliest among them, often running behind Yi Chun and wrapping his arms around his neck. One of the other 2 sisters likes to play around, and the other is very rational, and often prevents the dangerous behavior of the other 2. Angelina opened the door, and Yi was the first to take his hand off Yi Chun's neck, then spread his wings and flew out of the window. "Goodbye, my lord." Hey, wait for me. Ethan, you 2 are so rude." Yi Chun closed the window and said, Lena, it looks like they are all happy. Angelina said. This group of centaurs suffered a lot, and it took me a long time to hold back a name for myself. Yi Chun laughed and said, ha 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 ha, then there will be 2 more centaurs scratching their heads later. The Lord's Corps flashed with light. 2 cavalrymen who broke the formation loyally saluted Yi Chun outside the stone fortress, but when they learned that they were going to name themselves, their faces showed embarrassment and their ponytails almost broke off. My name is Matthew. Then my name is Marl. Yi Chun saw their names confirmed on the Lord interface, smiled and said, the name is good. The 2 centaurs felt relieved, clapped and cheered as if they had experienced a big battle, picked up their spears and happily ran out to hunt. The speech of World Channel has also become diversified. It has been 7 days since the Lords came to the Supreme Continent, and most of them have gradually adapted from the tension and anxiety and began to explore the world. Brothers, you must build a workshop first. Only with a workshop can you make weapons. Besides, who will subsidize me with 10 iron ore? What kind of bullshit loyalty value? I just touched the female orc a few times and it dropped below 60 points. Who has a solution to not lower the loyalty value? Thank you very much. Go away, it would be nice to have a female orc. I stare at the jackals every day. Who understands my pain? You guys have to be patient. I'm getting along well with the black-backed gorillas now, they're about to call me brother. What a mess. Yi Chun turned off the World Channel, thinking that even the female orcs can kill you, and you are not afraid that they will tear you apart. The increase rate of resources in the territory is still steadily increasing. At least within the range where the formation-breaking cavalry can return quickly, all monsters will be quickly eliminated and added to the granary. Yi Chun thought of the hard work of the group of centaurs, and felt that they should be rewarded. Winehouse. Rare level building. Construction cost. 50 units of fine iron ore, 300 units of iron ore, 200 units of wood, 200 units of stone, 300 energy points. Effect. Depending on the raw materials provided, different wines can be produced by activating the distillation equipment and fermentation barrels through energy points. Recruiting wine masters can significantly improve the brewing level and the quality of wine. Yi Chun nodded and said, it turns out that there is such a thing as a master brewer. Anyway, I don't drink much, and I feel that it is bitter. Wait and find a few master brewers to help. There is no limit to the construction location of the winery, but if it is built within the scope of the granary, raw materials such as wild fruits can be directly added to the winery. So Yi Chun established a winery not far from the 2 first-class granaries. 0. The construction process of the winery is different from other buildings. Yi Chun saw that the shining silver distillation device and a whole row of iron barrels appeared on the foundation first, and then formed the walls and the roof with chimneys. Yi Chun opens the Lord interface, adds 30 units of wild fruit to the raw material barrel of the winery, and then uses energy points to activate all devices. White steam emerges from the chimney, and the device vibrates and makes a low roar. The original brewing time has been greatly reduced, and Yi Chun can see the finished fruit wine in the afternoon. Yi Chun took a nap and woke up feeling refreshed, making up for all the sleep he lost last night. It's so cool. It feels so comfortable to take a nap every day. White steam is no longer coming from the chimneys of the distillery. Yi Chun opened the door and saw 2 half-meter-high wooden wine barrels placed on the table. He picked up the long wooden spoon next to him and took a scoop of the slightly cloudy fruit wine, smelling a faint fruity and winey smell. Yi Chun took a sip, smashed his mouth and said, the taste is a bit spicy, but you can taste a little sweetness. My evaluation is not as good as cola. Sudden, the wine shop was darkened. Yi Chun looked back and saw the window and was so startled that even the wine spoon fell to the ground with a loud clang. The small window was crowded with fanatical faces of centaurs, their eyes were red and their mouths were slightly open, the transparent glass was almost crushed to pieces. That moment, Yi Chun finally experienced the monster perspective when being hunted by centaurs. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.